I'm sitting on 6 bullets. Who wants to do the game recap from last time and get me down to 5?
I just gave you like 75 years of American history, but now you want me to do the game?
But not the 7.5 hours I'm interested in.
It's not the Mark Twain, it's the Beethoven. Get out of here.
I took us from pre-Revolutionary War to just post-Civil War. Oh my God.
The bombs dropped. That history doesn't exist anymore.
Cannot even deal with you.
Chad, someday, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it someplace where we can drive to. I'm gonna get I'm just gonna get high as I can get, and just follow you around, and just listen. And I'm just gonna let you bloviate for hours.
Brodor, are you volunteering to give the recap?
I think Brodor should get a bullet because he used a bloviate. And that's like a $10 word, man. That's like a triple word score right there.
I can pretend to be intelligent on occasion. All right,
you are smart.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's my character sheet for everybody to see.
Is that a dick?
Yeah, it looks like a cock.
Trust me, if you want to see dicks in my notes, they're a lot.
I was gonna say that was the least graphic dick I've ever seen you draw. If it was.
I'm gonna try and make sense of this. Here we go. United States Secret Service, U.S. government. Who could Cassandra Beale be? Emily is Dragon's daughter. T. Barnes arm candy. Erica is Dragon. Emily is Dragon's daughter. Oh wait, that's a cycle. Dragon, Songbird, Leopard, Tempers Militia, Songbird, Tempers Militia.
Wait, these are just words. These are just words.
Are you stroking?
Hold on.
He's stroking something.
Form anti-Aurora coalition with Phil at the head. Now my asset assist with party line. All right, hold on a second.
Confirmed.
Let's see. Aurora agents on Earth. 100% Aurora has agents on Earth to pave the way. Let's see. We need to use a SatLink uplink to get male survivor from Mars crash to speak with us. So there's apparently a male survivor from the Mars crash that we need to get to speak to us. 2 survivors and a young man, me and kid, mom and dad, older brother, left Mars. Oh, they were talking about my background. So we talked about my background. Did you know the Joint Chiefs of Staff and a reporter, General Monroe, president, was against it? So apparently the Aurora Project, the president was against the Aurora Project, I think. And General Monroe was like, this is bullshit, President. I'm calling bullshit. I'm going out. But wait a minute. Hold on. General, now I forget.
Like Bob Dylan having a stroke, just talking nonsense.
The president is gonna go against Aurora.
Okay, so hold on. The Joint Chiefs of Staff and a reporter, and then there was this General Monroe guy. The president didn't want Aurora. The president was out. There were lots of fucking robots. I know that. And it was mainly Americans on Aurora. Privileged survivors, the elite, the 1% of the 1%, if you will, comprised Aurora. The president at the time, very opposed to this. Let's see. Ooh, who are the power armored Chuds? Dragon, Leopard, Burning, Frozen, yeah.
Was it the power armored people or Canadian?
Are these symptoms? What the fuck are you reading off?
Hold on.
Was it the power
Jacksonville
or Mars that sound like Canadians?
I'm not sure.
Because I remember Canadians.
Hold on.
I'm more confused about the game we're playing now than I have been the entire almost year and a half of us playing.
Does somebody else want to give the recap?
Yeah, hold on. We have friends in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville has a max crisis. Jacksonville, right? We have friends there. The story that we have is money. What we have to do is we need to get Molly and Molly's lawyers in Jacksonville and get a PR wing, and we need to start getting our story out there and do a media blitz. That's what we have to do. We need to get the word out.
Okay. I don't know what the fuck is happening at all. What? Did you guys start a new game? And I'm jumping into this new fucking game now? Great.
So basically the entire plot got dropped last session, Brandon.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got into Herman. We got in front of Barnes. Okay. We found out that Barnes's assistant was Dragon. We found out the whole history. The zoo is actually the Secret Service. that after the bombs, they went into their mission was supposed to be to basically to prepare for the coming back of Aurora, and they went off script of that. They're trying to stop Aurora.
Right. And a splinter cell that Songbird is a part of is like, no, this is a bad idea. We should not do that.
Yep. There are bunkers around with troops and robots and things. We found out that Molly made it to Jacksonville, got a lawyer, and has your story is out there in Jacksonville, and you have the public support of Jacksonville, but there's like a lot of internal debate going on around you guys. You found out that Jacksonville had sent the message they were going to destroy the space station and sent the message up to get everyone out. And it was the mayor of the space station that said to leave you guys in there. And he's been arrested in Jacksonville. We found out Lee is alive, and Lee has been dumped back and is comatose. What you were doing all last session when you weren't puking or the Swedish chef was you were checking on Lee to see what's wrong with him. We thought he got all drugged up, but it sounds like he may have drugged himself up, or he may have just had a mental breakdown after something went really bad. But our big plan is Mars is on their way.
Right.
Aurora is coming back with the intention of taking over, and we want to get everybody all on the same page so they can fight back against Aurora.
All right. Now that the smell of toast is out of my nose, couple of things that I want to make sure that I bring up too. One factor I didn't bring up that I'm looking at in my notes. I'm actually pretty impressed with my little Earth drawing. But so Aurora's coming, but the Martians coming after them is another factor that we were discussing. And I finally understand why they wanted Songbird, or understand what it was that made Songbird so upset that she wanted to go off script in the first place and leave the zoo. But one of the things that I didn't say is that there are also body farms, basically, in addition to having the sleeper ship that is Aurora of the super elite and the robots and all the shit that they have with that. There are also hidden areas around the Earth that are cryo chambers that basically have more uber elite that weren't important enough to get onto Aurora, but that are here stashed and stationed, waiting to be, I guess I'm assuming, thawed out once the whole plan kicks off.
The zoo has been thawing them out and burning the bodies.
Right. What? Well, I mean, we didn't necessarily thaw them out. Sometimes we just set fire to shit.
Yeah.
Well, they were incinerating select bodies, and I think Dragon even explained this. They were incinerating select bodies, partially because they deemed them uniquely bad individuals, but also because one of the things that they knew they needed to do was that if they waited until Aurora was 100% ready to do this, that there was no beating them. And so they had to push up their timetable. And so that's why, for example, they started giving bunkers, like revealing bunkers to the Southern Army. That's why they started making sure it got out that they had found some of the cryo chambers and were incinerating some percentage of the bodies. That's also why they've been trying to get all of the different factions. They've not allowed any of them to get tied up in a real war, but they've drawn all the factions into a degree of conflict that has made them nervous and put them on a war footing so that they would be better prepared for the coming fight.
Two other plot pieces that got dropped. The reason the truck kept wanting to go to Nevada was because that is the muster point for Aurora. And because that truck was part of an Aurora pod, it's supposed to meet up there with the rest of Aurora to then start sweeping across to the east. The other big thing that came out is that Dragon was responsible for the nuke.
Oh.
And the reason she did that is because the plan A to depopulate the Earth, to basically, because the Earth had been going through all of these difficulties surrounding population numbers, resource demands, so on and so forth, that the nukes were an intentional step to depopulate the planet, but they knew it wouldn't be totally successful. So they had taken research that was done innocently enough on a disease that the A campaign encountered. And they had modified it and perfected it, so to speak.
It really was grown out of the space rabies.
Into a disease that latches into its host and evolves and changes and permutates so quickly that it's effectively impossible to cure. And that was what the colony was that you guys ran into while you were on the train. And the reason that plan failed was because it just so happened that the first round of individuals that got it were fairly benevolent and created a leper colony there to isolate themselves. And for the most part, anyone else that caught it tended to do the same thing, but not perfectly so. They knew that it was still getting out. And even one leak could potentially, depending on where it went, literally end life on Earth. And so that was why the South was intentionally letting them steal supplies or dropping off supplies. It was basically, we'll take care of you, and in return, you don't leave. And Dragon nuked it for two reasons. One, to destroy the disease, but secondly, because she chose the detonation of the nuke occurred at a point when the Earth was facing Mars. So Mars would see the atomic blast, and that might get them, because Mars is not talking to anyone. And her hope was that that might freak them out enough that they would come back and get involved in Earth politics again. And it seems to have worked because Mars is now sending ships.
If I remember, Aurora is in orbit now.
Yes,
and the space station, what was being built on it, is the space station is supposed to be the staging ground for.
That's correct, Aurora. Which is why Jacksonville tried to nuke it. And that you think that might be why Daisy is building the railgun or the Gauss rifle or the Gauss gun, is because she's going to try and take it out. Or perhaps Emma told her to take it out.
Did we find out why Jacksonville was trying to kill us after we even landed? Like, actually a purpose for that?
What occurred was you guys, the instruction was that we know where this is headed. We know the station itself is not involved. Evacuate everyone, bring them down to Earth. What happened was, in sort of the panic and pressure of the moment, the individual that governs Olympus decided to simply not tell anyone in your area and leave you behind. And so you guys were left locked away to die. When you came to Earth, first of all, you were outside of anything that Jacksonville knew was up there. They were told the station was evacuated. And then you came down in Aurora pods. And so to them, well, along with the fact there's a disagreement, an ongoing sort of cultural disagreement between Jacksonville's civilian governor and the military general. But the military general basically said, I don't know what these people are, and there's too much on the line to find out. And so he just kind of took it at face value of these people were probably, some part of this, because they knew the station was being prepped. And so they opted simply to do whatever they had to neutralize those resources.
Okay.
So it was certainly a violent overreach, but it's perhaps a bit less nefarious than it sounds. And that's where came up the other part, which was that as part of that disagreement between the civilian and military leadership, Molly really did have a right to citizenship within Jacksonville. She is there on at least a resident visa now, has retained an attorney, and is right now working on getting out the story to the public, which in turn will put pressure back on the military and give ammo to the civilian governor to get the military to calm down and to back off of you guys. Which, as of right now, what Dragon has said is, as of this moment, you have been pulled from the kill list. You guys are no longer, and have been for a little while. You're not on Jacksonville's kill list anymore.
Woo!
Dan, if you'll forgive me, I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but I'm pretty sure that's almost exactly word for word what I said.
Brodor, it's like a Scrabble bag. I have no doubt the words were in there.
More like boggle.
I'm just not sure that those words came out in a cogent fashion. This is like making an hour speech with random selections from the dictionary.
It was like having a computer write a script. That's what just happened.
Yeah, it was like a low quality AI or something. All right, so Wayne,
low quality.
All right, so Wayne, I will give you the bullet. Brodor, I will give you a Beethoven that you may use this session or next session, since this may be a short session, because your attempt was both heartfelt and entertaining, even if it was not wholly helpful. But Wayne, I gave you the bullet. Okay. So you guys, we sidelined Poe because, you weren't physically present. The rest of you guys, I believe, were prepared to leave leave Dragon's Place and start visiting people and places around Herman. Is that still what you guys intend to do? And if so, what is your first stop going to be?
Yeah, we had on the list, we had going back to my family's house for dinner, and that's where Blue is right now. I wanted to go straight to Lee, though.
Okay, so you wanted to go directly to the McCormick family, which live in, I forget the exact name of it, but it's well, they now call it the McCormick House, but it still is. Actually, he still collects antiques. It's a local history museum and also a wine-making museum, and they also do themselves in there. They don't grow the grapes or anything like that, but they do a bit of the I'll say distillation. That's the wrong word. What do you call it with wine?
Fermentation?
Yeah, the fermentation of the wine or whatever there. So that was where you guys were headed. Chad, the answer to the question that you asked me last game is Lee does not know.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have any other questions about Lee, then I can answer them, but the answer to your primary question is Lee does not know.
No problem.
Okay, so...
And like I said, Poe, we left there to figure out what's wrong with him.
Okay, so you guys are going to go to Lee first, which works because that reunites the party.
Real quick, like I said, I forget where I had this conversation with you, but basically I arranged it so Gil could basically just fuck off. He's doing things, but I didn't want to play the two characters again and ping pong back and forth. But however you want to handle that is cool.
Well, what we could do is one of the things that needed to happen was you of course had to start making contact with certain people and getting people together. So while the group is pursuing local plot, if you want Gil to do something like
He's doing the boring legwork logistical crap.
I said, do you want to send Gil back to the bunker to get
You almost said
Billingsley? I did.
Billingsley reunited.
Did you want to send him to go get Billingsley? Did you want
bottle of bourbon and a box of condoms were there?
Did you want to try and reestablish contact with Molly? Is there some kind of like honeydew items that Gil can go take care of?
Yes. Well, okay, so here's the thing. All those are good ideas that Gil would be down with. Gil, basically, the plan we had come up with, Gil was like, your security is like a leaky sieve. And the Aurora folks have agents who are probably better than we are. They could be here right now. What we plan on doing, we were nobodies who were kind of stuck our hand in it in the beehive. And so that's why we're getting stung. But if what we are doing now is successful, it's not going to be idiots sticking their hands in a beehive. We're going to be making ourselves targets. Specifically, eventually Philip is going to be making himself a target. And these guys, security sucks. Except this is actually what Gil was trained for. This is the one time in the entire game where Gil could actually do his job. And he was going to basically, he wanted carte blanche over the Tempers militia, not to say, send these tanks here, shoot these guys here, but basically to go and make the town internally secure, not secure from an attack with airplanes and tanks, but secure from infiltration, assassination, sabotage, that sort of thing. Internal security.
Okay, so you're going to work on trying to improve security around Herman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if that's a thing where he could just boom, 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 knock that out.
We'll do a couple rolls. And
okay.
We'll get the.
Because I was going to say, then he can go get Billingsley and stuff, and that would be awesome too.
Okay. So, Brandon, to explain another plot point that's in there, is one of the things they asked Dragon is basically what comes after this. And what Dragon said is there's disagreement within the ranks, but as far as she's concerned, once this is done, this is what, because the original mission the Secret Service was given, because when the plan was first getting concocted amongst a bunch of world leaders, world elite, Brodorian conspiracy type stuff, there were several people, notable people, that were not on board. The president at the time, who was widely blamed for the nuclear war, he actually had nothing to do with it, and he was against the whole idea. The Secret Service mostly sided with him. There was an Army general who also sided with them and was about to blow the whole thing wide open, which is why there was that shootout between a general, a reporter, and the mayor at
that's what happened in that office
at Amboy.
Yeah.
And he was preparing to blow the lid on it to the general public. So what they did, they being the Aurora group, was they punished them by basically saying, we are going to leave you on Earth. But if you complete several research and prep tasks for us, then when we come back, your descendants will be spared and reaccepted into our ranks, and we will make them part of, our better world, or whatever you want to call it. And
he was like, okay, wink.
Yeah, and so what happened was they basically, some of them decided to participate. The majority of them participated for a short while and then said, you know what, these people are evil, screw this, and have since been working to undermine it, which is why what research they've done, they've actually just been, as far as Aurora would be concerned, misusing around Earth. And so, but her take on it, and she actually has said she is, I think, the great-granddaughter or something like that of
Jefferson Davis.
Of Jefferson Davis, yes, of Reno Haller, who was the president of the U.S. at the time. And the zoo is based on the U.S. Secret Service. The zoo's not their own name for themselves. It's just what you guys have been calling them. Their use of animal names is actually based on, it's not 100%, but the Secret Service tends to use animal names for their wards. And so it's code names, and so they were using the same sort of principle.
monikers and things.
But what she had basically said is that when this is over, she's done. That she does not think the zoo needs to stick around. In fact, she thinks it would be dangerous to leave in place because it could become the next Aurora. The second thing she said is that she's like, I took Aurora off her schedule. They don't have all their technology ready. We got Emma out to be something to counter. Oh crap! What's the other AI's name?
Max.
I call him Jack. But they got Emma on the field as a counter to Max, and they've gotten all these people ready and kind of set up and on a war footing. And she has basically said, she's like, I'm not a general. I'm not a politician. I'm an intelligence agent. And there's nothing more I can do at this point.
Yeah. This was basically their end plan. They didn't have a plan for what happens when they arrive. It's just get everybody ready, and then they have to figure it out.
And then hopefully let nature take its course, right? Because they did not really have the resources or the skills, and they didn't even feel that people would take them seriously if they tried to say, "Oh, you guys need to work together because the threat from space is coming." So they went with that plan instead. And she has now basically said the zoo will serve as resources and assistance to you, but as far as she's concerned, they're what they planned is over. They are basically done. And now what she set out to do, they did quite well.
Yeah.
I say she, but actually that's been a plan that's been getting worked on for generations.
Right. Songbird's now in charge of her boyfriend.
And so she basically said, we will continue to support you, but we did what we set out to do. We got everyone on a war footing, and we got Aurora off balance. And now, either the good guys win or they don't. And that's, she doesn't intend to make herself the supreme leader of this alliance. Okay, so you guys are going to go see Lee at the McCormick House, which is on the west side of town. It is a sizable building.
I was already there.
Yes, and I'll give you a little bit of RP with at least Lee's parents before anyone shows up. But it's the house itself predates the bombs. It actually goes back to today, like modern day. And its purpose has changed a bit. I forget what the building actually is, but it is a real building. And like I said, Lee's father, Victor McCormick, and his mother, Melissa McCormick, they both work there. His mother oversees a lot of the wine fermentation, and his father is a historian, a businessman, very educated and cultured. That's his role in the town. Everything else we'll deal with in RP. So I'll give you, Brandon, a little bit of a lead before everyone else shows up. And then I'll bring everyone else in pretty quickly because I know nobody likes sitting on their hands during a game. So you were right now.
Lee's like unconscious, right?
No, Lee's not unconscious.
Okay. If you examine Lee, I can tell you what. Well, if you have any questions about Lee, I can tell you what.
Yeah. No, so when we get to those questions, I will have Chad either give me the answers, then I will RP them, because he and I had a side conversation, and Chad had communicated some things to me in earlier games about Lee that I misinterpreted. So I need to amend some of what I said. Lee is not comatose. He is conscious. He's not in good shape. Once again, we'll get to that. Okay. But right now you are sitting in the parlor of the McCormick House. There are a couple of little wooden kind of Bavarian-looking shelves in here that have, you'd almost call them knickknacks, if not for the fact that they're so well arranged. And even by looking at them, you know that some of them not only date pre-bomb, some of them go way back. They may be centuries old. And you know that these are items of particular value and distinction. The plaster walls are painted sort of a very, very faded yellow, like not faded over time, but that's kind of the intended colors. It's white with just a slight twist to yellow. And you're right now sitting in the living room listening to the slow, if you listen to a clock that ticks long enough, you either tune it out or it becomes this cannon shot in your mind.
Yeah, it's very loud. Yeah, like
I don't. You tell me how you are, but yeah, it's. You don't know if it actually is a cuckoo clock or not, but it's got that kind of design where you have the clock, with the swinging pendulum beneath it hung up on a wall, and his father, Victor, is sitting across from you, sipping on a cup of chamomile tea. He's offered you some as well if you want it.
Absolutely. I would think that I'm probably most at ease. This is probably the most comfortable I've been the entire game. Like,
yeah, you're a man of wealth.
Yeah, this is I'm familiar with this setting. Like, this is something that I feel right at home. It's like, oh yeah, nice.
And he is. You can tell he's at some difficulty of what to say, not because he doesn't love his son, but because, one, he really doesn't know much about the journey his son underwent.
Right.
When he was originally masked, or once he set out on Lily's Vine, or what happened once he ended up remasked and back in St. Louis. And he's also just kind of got that wealthy, aloof father thing of he just doesn't know how to communicate those emotions quite right. Now, Lee was raised by his parents. Lee was not like raised by the help or something like that. But he just sort of has that vibe to him. And he's dressed in nice black shoes, gray slacks, a white button-up shirt, cotton suspenders.
And when Lee was masked, when you're masked, aren't you just taken? Didn't they just take him from his family?
That's correct. Yeah, you don't. The family doesn't get a choice.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a great honor, but not an honor you can decline.
Precisely, exactly. It is a great honor. It tends to protect the family. Sometimes it even means the family will receive a great deal of preferential treatment from the house. The position that the McCormicks enjoy, is not entirely from house color, but probably some percentage of it is. Certainly some of the trade deals they've gotten for their wine have been. And this was not, so the family didn't sign him up for this. And it wouldn't take a genius to know that unless you really hate your kid or just one of those super psycho parents who wants your kid to succeed at any cost, you wouldn't want this for them. And so he's got a hell of a poker face, but I'm assuming you've got a pretty decent social, right?
No.
No? Okay. The guy seems strangely calm about this whole thing. There you go.
As a matter of fact, my struggle is social. And,
so yeah, the guys, you know what? Let's do the roll. 3d6, pick the worst two and add your social. Let's see how bad this gets.
These explode? I guess I picked the worst, so it doesn't matter.
Worst two. Now, if the worst two are still sixes, yes. But if the worst two are ones, then that actually goes the opposite direction.
I rolled a 2 and a 5.
So 7, and what's your social?
4.
So you've got a 7 and a 4 is 11. 13. That's shy of even a middling success. So, okay, you did not roll idiot level, but you rolled below even a middling success. So, this guy just seems to have a poker face. You have no idea how he's processing this.
So he's just calm, sitting there in this room. Yes. So I'm looking at the knickknacks and things because, like you said, there's clearly a lot of history in this room.
Yeah, there's what you don't know if it still functions or not. There's a small sort of pocket-sized wind-up train. You don't know if the toy still works or not. By the looks of it, once again, that thing goes way back, 1900s maybe. There's an old monocle up there. You're not even sure what it's from. There is a handmade statuette of a canary that appears to actually have real bird feathers as its coating. And then
So it's not like a taxidermied bird. It's an actual
No. It's a toy. It's a little statuette or a little toy. Yeah. And there's a few other things like that. Small books, like small pocket books, might be timetables, diaries, notes. Once again, you're almost certain not his, probably from generations ago, and might contain old recipes for wines from this area. And the tea he's drinking, he's got the cup over a saucer, and he sips it occasionally as this clock ticks. And every so often he has this look like he might be about to say something, but then just takes another sip of his tea.
So I've been here for how long now? Because I came to check on him, and then I've just been here.
I don't remember the timing, to be honest. I don't remember when you got sent here.
Okay.
So
I'm assuming like we've already introduced ourselves to each other.
Yes. He knows who you are. You probably already met his wife, who is now attending to other matters. But like I said,
has he examined Lee yet?
No, I'm okay. That's a part I kind of want to work up to.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm very impressed with your collection here. It reminds me a lot of my own. Although I'm not familiar with a lot of this because I've never studied history of Earth that much, but it's very beautiful things.
He sets his teacup and saucer down on an end table next to the chair that he's on, and says, "Thank you. I appreciate you taking notice of it. Usually, no one apart from those from out of town even seem to notice what's here, much less take a sufficient interest to want to see any of it. I've other rooms of the house that have even more that I'm quite proud of. I'm quite proud that it's preserved this long."
Yeah, the home is amazing. I mean, this is probably the most put together house I've seen since I've been here, to be honest.
You know, it's an interesting little bit of fact is when you ask someone where they think we have lost the majority of our history, they say it was, of course, in the war. But I think that's incorrect. I think two other things have taken away most of our history. And do you want to guess what either of those two are?
I couldn't say.
The first one, and I'm not sure which I'd say is greater, though I would estimate the second to be greater. But the first cause is fire. No grand mushroom clouds, just the good old unattended fireplace, the lazy hand with a cigarette, the cow kicking a pail. Do you know how many cities, how many libraries, how many offices of record have been lost just to a plain old fire caused by nothing more than negligence?
Yeah, I could imagine.
There's so many places I've been where the history goes back to a certain point, and then there was the Great Fire of such and such year, and almost nothing's known prior to that. The second thing, and this is the one that I can fix, or perhaps do the best job of making sure it is fixed while I'm alive, though I do mind my fires, is the failure of people to tell stories. And by the time a generation comes along that actually wants to know, maybe even needs to know their history, their context, the story of how they got there, there is no one and nothing left to tell them. Which is why I have tried so hard to preserve so much, because I can't know all the histories. I don't have the means to be a historian of the world and have a museum of human history, but I can hold Herman's stories and tell them and write them down. Indeed, I've written several books of the collected histories I've learned over the years, trying to be as exhaustive as I can, such that on the day I die, as far out as I hope the good Lord makes it, that the loss of my brain won't mean the loss of everything that was worth ever knowing about this place and its people, their struggles, their triumphs, even how they live today.
Do you think it's disheartening, the great human tragedy of history repeating itself, even if this information is known to those from now? I mean, don't you feel like your work's going to be for nothing?
Isn't that the Sisyphean task of all men? You're a doctor. Every patient you treat still dies, gets sick again. And even if the one you treat remains well, in comes another who has developed a new malady in the time you were treating the first.
Yeah.
Yet you keep toiling and toiling away at it in the hopes that it makes some kind of difference, that maybe it all does matter in the end, or maybe something you do matters in a lasting way. Maybe humanity needed a wake-up call. And tragic as the nuclear exchange was, maybe at least for a few generations, people will pay a little more attention than they did in the centuries and millennia prior to that. Or not. Perhaps one day this place all burns down in a fire, my notes with it, and no one even cares what was in them.
The cycle continues.
Well, I call it Sisyphean. We push the rock up. We hope this time it will stay. But deep down, I think we all know it won't.
How long has Lee been at this house? Like, do I know that before I came here?
He's been at this house. I'm trying to remember the exact timetable of the games leading up to this. Probably about a week.
Okay.
Ish, maybe two. I don't remember. It's not been a long time. It would definitely be measured in days, but not days as in like 2 days. So like let's say a week.
So
and a half.
I've been informed you've been reunited with your son. I mean, it's got to be pretty nice.
He picks up his tea again and says, "Yes, it should be."
As a father myself, I can only imagine how good you feel about this. To see something you've, I would assume, thought about for endless nights, wanting to.
Father yourself, children not here?
No, I have a son and a daughter. I haven't spoken to them for a very long time now, but maybe one day.
If you were reunited with your son, I have to imagine that how you feel about it is going to depend not just on how the reuniting goes. Every father wants it to go well, but even if the reuniting goes poorly, knowing that they're alive and doing well can be enough. It can be a poor man's supper. But what if, when you are reunited with your son is substantially worse for the wearer?
Well,
that your son is hardly even a person you recognize, hardly even something you would recognize as a person.
No, I haven't known his other name is Void, right? It's Void. Okay. So I haven't known Void. Lee.
Thank you. That's that name is not only inappropriate within these four walls, but outside of these four walls, that name is actually illegal.
Oh.
And depending on where you utter it, could end you in serious punishment up to and including death. So within these four walls, that name is merely unwelcome. But I would be very, very judicious with how and where you use that name. He is Lee now. He has never been anyone else officially. And we, of course, know this is a falsity, an illusion of history. He has been forced to be at least two other people in his life, maybe more. But officially, he is Lee. He has always been Lee. He has only been Lee. There just might be a few years of gap in Lee's life where he did not exist.
Yeah, I can't imagine that kind of feeling for. It's almost your son is there, but out of reach. Can't speak to your actual son. I can't imagine what you'd gone through. But I've never known Lee, so I can't speak to your son. I have only known the persona that he enacted.
So if I might ask, precisely what are you a doctor of? Internal medicine, surgery?
Veterinarian.
OBGYN.
Psychiatry.
Well, on this, I almost say space station. On the space. Well,
You've already said you don't know much about. You haven't been on Earth very long, so you might as well go.
I assumed it was like this part. I haven't done like any Earth history, and what I meant by that was like just history.
Well, that wording
generally.
was not lost on him.
Yeah.
If you said world
So I did let that
history-
slip. Yeah, no, I let that slip, but I didn't
he's-
catch it.
Yeah, you may. Well, you're a low social. You may not even realize you let it slip or that he noticed it, because he does have a hell of a poker face.
Yeah, because to be fair, most of the time Poe wouldn't give a shit, but he's trying to be respectful.
Sure.
For once, and so where was I? Well, from where I come from, it was primarily, I would say, surgery, but you kind of had to be a little bit of an expert in most fields. So,
I've been reading voraciously, perhaps to the neglect of other matters of import, such as sleep, books on various forms of psychology and psychiatry. And I'm afraid that I think on a small way, I know what our ancestors must have felt like after the atomic bombs went off and they were digging through every magazine article they could find on how to start a garden. That I'm learning something, but yet at the same time, I feel ever insufficient for the task. I don't know, well, if your experience as a doctor is primarily that of a surgeon and not of a psychiatrist, I don't know that you can be of any great help to him, but you certainly can't be of any worse help to him than, or less help to him than I've been. And I don't know what you carry in that medical bag, but even something to ease his pain or his rehabilitation, I think would be a welcome relief.
I've essentially been with a work study for the past however many years now. Trust me, I've plenty of experience with, for the layman's, a nut job. So hopefully we'll find something to help him, but I can't promise anything. He didn't look very good when I saw him last, so is he exhibiting any kind of certain behaviors you're not familiar with, or is there anything physically wrong with him?
Perhaps it would be best for me to simply show you to him and let you make your own judgments.
Okay. Well, where is he? Is he?
He stands up and opens a glass case that's pushed up against the wall behind him and pulls out a pair of what do you drink? Brand has it a snifter, snifter. I call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nifter, yeah.
And he pulls two of those out, sets them down, and then takes out a bottle of brandy and pours some brandy into both of the glasses and says, back centuries, this was considered one of the best medicines for the human condition. Before you go back there, perhaps you might want to dull yourself a bit.
So him doing that already, I was kind of expecting bad news, but now I'm just like, I'm kind of taken back by what possibly could be back there. Cause now he's not his father he's not stupid. Like he's very intelligent. I'm assuming he understands enough to realize how bad this is. So I have no idea what I'm getting myself into now. And so Poe kind of, okay, he doesn't say anything, but he's kind of like almost worried. Like,
so this I'm not even gonna make you make a roll on. You've noticed that up to this point, like he's handled his tea in a very, very cultured fashion. Like he's not even trying; it's just second nature to him. But when he picks up that brandy, he just downs it. I mean, you can tell he's taking it for the effect. He is not taking this for the flavor. Yeah. If your character is much of a drinker, it is actually an unusually good brandy. One of the things that got mentioned in the first campaign and also came up in the last game is that, one is that they've actually been improving the wine that was coming out of Herman for a couple of years now. But also his father keeps a very select stock of both wines and brandies that are made at a much higher standard or sold at a much higher price. But I mean, you would notice as you drank it, it is a very, very high quality brandy, but he does not treat it as such at that moment. It's just so much alcohol.
He just wants the alcohol content.
Yep. It's drunk switch drinking.
So I do take a drink of it. I don't drink all of it. And then before we head that way, I'll set it down. Okay. I won't take it with me.
So, all right, he leads you out of the front room and takes you back down a hallway, creaking wooden floors. You can hear some noises below the floor, but you also know there are wine barrels and such down there. So that's probably what you're hearing. And he takes you back to one of the doors and turns the brass knob on it and opens it to a room that is the room is painted a sort of mid shade of gray. It's wooden floors. There's a white area rug that's patterned with a dark blue around its edges and flowers of various but relatively subtle colors throughout. And there is a twin bed on a wooden frame. And what is fun about a twin bed on a wooden frame?
Nothing. I'm sorry. I was reading the chat.
Oh, okay.
Wayne and I are hyping ourselves up for this super serial scene, and
okay. Yeah. So there are curtains that are drawn. They're not perfectly blacking out the light, but it is very, very dim in there. And Chad, I will let you obviously describe. Well, let me throw in one or two more things. There is also a wide bureau, and on that bureau is a jug of water and then a wash basin and several towels that have been set there. Okay. Now, obviously, for the center point of this scene, Chad, I will allow you to describe that.
There's a window, and Lee is standing by it. He's not in a mask, and he's not in his accoutrement of being masked, of the judge's robes and all that sort of stuff. He's just in a simple loose shirt and simple pants. He is very, very pale. And Lee, remember that Lee is short, and he is rail thin. And I don't mean thin like Dan is thin. I mean he is unhealthily thin. Sickly is what would be described. Yeah. The wind blowing too hard could hurt him levels of sickly. His skin is pale and blotched and stuff. He's got short hair. You remember that he has these really blue eyes that are like a blue iceberg. They're like blue ice. actually out of character. That's my father's eyes I described when I was describing him. But he, like I said, dark hair with a sort of reddish tinge, if I remember right. But he's standing there. He is, as you remember him, except he is a little beat up. Like they worked him over, but they couldn't work him over like they could anybody else in the group. It would kill him, So, but he's got a.
It was like they probably felt bad for what they were doing to him because he was already so messed up, probably.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Are you talking about what happened in St. Louis?
Yeah, because you said they brought him back. He was beat up.
Yes. Okay. So to explain what happened to him in St. Louis was, he got brought back. Of course, he was captured as a traitor. And so both the standing house armies beat him up. And then once he was handed over to the overseers, probably beat up again. But they were not allowed to execute him. And given how frail he is, like Chad said, they couldn't give him, a freaking
They couldn't work him over like they work over Gil.
Yeah, they couldn't give him a Brooklyn beating because that would have killed him. And obviously by the fact that he's standing there, he somehow dodged the death penalty. So, beating him to death, which would not be all that hard to do, was out of the cards.
He's standing there by the window looking out and he doesn't look at you. He says, "You're Philip's friend, the doctor."
Hey, gorgeous.
I saw he kind of waves his hand. I saw you come in.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say friends, but
we
travel together.
He stops.
The father says
he kind of looks over and he says, "Then what would you call it?"
The father says, talking at you both, so kind of between you, "I'll be waiting back in the front room should you need me." And he then closes the door to. And by Brandon, on the table next to you, there is a lantern and matches. But unless Lee has the window open, like the curtains wide open, it's pretty damn dark in here.
Yeah.
How many windows are there in this room?
Just one.
Oh, okay.
And he's got the curtains open-ish. It's not like blast open, but he's obviously been standing there in front of him looking out.
Okay. So, he's something of a shadow right now anyway. Mm-hmm. But, the father closes the door.
I'll actually walk over to the window and actually just try to open it, unless he stops me.
No. He kind of takes a step back.
Yeah. I would say Philip is a traveling companion. I mean, I don't keep many friends.
Then why are you with him?
Well,
what keeps you traveling with him?
It's like a beneficial relationship. If anything, Philip's a good man. I don't distrust him. And
Philip's
and I'm here doing this as a favor to him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
because you don't really. I mean, you met Lee once or twice, and if I remember right, you didn't like him.
No, I didn't like Lee. I stayed off the boat because we were all afraid that I would say something.
Yeah.
Out of character, I actually begged your character to go check on him when we heard his status.
I probably would have done it for you. It's not me saying you're not a friend of Poe doesn't mean much. Most people aren't
right. Poe's
friend, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't do something for you. You're still a comrade. So it's
just a side note to the rest of you. I'm watching the clock. In a handful of minutes, I'm going to have everybody arrive just because, once again, not gaming is a ton of fun. So I'm trying to continue.
He takes when you open the blind, the drapes up, and turn around and look at him, he's actually taken a few steps back. And
is he staying out of the sun kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, kind of, and maybe distancing himself from you a little.
Oh. Great. Okay. So I'm looking around. You said there were not rags, but towels. You used towels or something around the wash basin, right?
Yes, that's correct. There's a stack of towels by the wash basin.
Do I see anything other than they're just towels, or is there
there's blood on them?
Yeah, I was about to say there is a wash rag
What about the
behind
water?
the wash basin that has blood on it.
What about the water?
The water has blood in it.
So it's murky.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not a bowl of blood, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's just like an opaque, like.
Brandon, give me a medical check plus. I'm actually going to go with perception, not int, and there is a reason why I'm doing that. So give me your medical check, but you're adding it to perception, not int.
Six explode on this.
If you roll 2 6s to 12, yeah, you add a third die.
Okay.
So an individual 6 doesn't explode, but if you have 2 of them, then yes, it explodes. And you get a third die.
All right, that's 16.
16? Okay.
Plus my...
the visible...
What was it? What you're looking for? Perception?
Perception.
22.
Okay. The visible injuries to him, like for having been beaten around, would not produce that amount of blood. Certainly not now. They might have when it was first done, but they're mostly just bruises and whatnot. Right. Now they would not produce that kind of blood. At a 22, that's high enough. I'd give you another piece of information, but I'm allowing Chad to handle that how he prefers. So I will let Chad decide if that's something he wants to deal with or not yet.
I'll reveal that in a sec.
Okay.
So, he kind of walks to the other side of the room and he looks at you and he's like, "Why are you here?"
I'm here as a favor.
No, I don't care why you're here. Why are all of you here?
The human race? I'm not sure where you're going with this.
No, that Philip, the group, you're the prisoners from space. Oh. Why are you here?
Well, I kind of give him a short rundown of what I've been privy to.
What do you tell him about the Ists and Cape? Like, remember how they attacked Cape and were repelled and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Well, does he ask about that? Does he ask about Cape?
Well, not yet. Do you?
Yeah, let's be more specific. When you said I tell him what I know, what is?
I tell him what I know. Why we're here, like why we are in this place.
Can you give that to me in like one sentence, just so I have some idea of how you're phrasing this to him?
Well, I tell him the lead that Dragon is. What's his name?
So you came here looking for Dragon, is what you say?
We came here because they had an idea that Dragon was this person, which was
Barnes. He looks at you as you said, it is this person, and he looks at you and says, "It's Barnes. Dragon is Barnes."
Well, sort of. Not really. So I tell him who Dragon is, and I try to like fill in gaps of information maybe he doesn't know.
Right.
It's hard for me to roleplay that because I wasn't there for all of that. So,
right.
And actually, he wasn't there for the reveal.
Yeah.
When we went to talk to Barnes, Poe was already off to check on Lee.
Okay, so I leave that out. I just say that I think that it's like I was told it might be Barnes. They're confronting Barnes now.
No, it's Barnes.
Well, that's not for me to decide. I don't really care, to be honest. All of this shit is just nonsense.
Are you here to kill him?
I don't know what their plan is. I have no plans to kill him. I don't really care.
What are your plans? What are your plans?
Well, at this point, I'm just kind of dragging along with everybody now.
Is that a pun?
No, it's not.
You're a very humorless man.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Now, are you going to tell me why all of these bloody rags are around here? Are you you look pretty beat up? What's that story? Where's Casey?
Where is Casey?
Well, last I knew he was with you. Because Casey I did like. Casey Poe liked.
Yeah.
At least like.
He looks at the bloody rags. He's like, well, those rags are bloody because I killed Casey.
I'm sorry.
And I killed Joe. And I killed Sunset. And he turns around, he like walks over to you and he's like, I'm going to guess that I killed Motamar. And his speech is kind of like a little breathless. He's like, Motamar didn't show up. He didn't show up. And so he's dead. And I killed him. And he walks past you a little bit. He's like, I saw Philip come in, and I'm surprised that I didn't kill Philip. And this room is very dark. And as he walks over to you to the window, you see he puts his hand on the window. He's like, I saw Philip, and I knew I didn't kill him. And he leaves a bloody handprint on the window. And out of his other hand, a knife drops to the floor, and his eyes roll back, and he falls to the floor. And his arms are bloody and sliced open.
Jesus.
Okay, so right at this point, the rest of the group arrives at the house. Victor pretty quickly. So Gil's gone because he's working on security, and then he, Leela, and Fat Tony are going to go back to get Billingsley. Emma, I haven't figured out yet, but we can deal with her later. But she'll be with you guys for now. And the rest of the player characters show up, and Victor, upon recognizing you without saying much of anything, he just upon seeing Philip, who he's known for basically his whole life, just says to Philip, he's back in his room, but he's not well.
Has Dr. Poe found anything?
I don't know. He arrived just a short while ago and is examining him now.
Tell me when the time gets to like what happens.
Okay, I will note where the synchronicity occurs.
Okay, I head back to knock on the door.
Okay, so now the rest of you guys are with him too. So unless you don't want to be, so Junior's with you guys, Songbird's with you guys. Emma is there, but she's kind of trailing, but she is there. So the rest of you guys, so Philip, Junior, and Songbird are all there. And Phil, as you're walking down the hallway and about to get to the door, you hear a loud thud from behind the door. Okay, time is now in synchronicity.
God damn it! Towels! Somebody get in here! Give me towels! I need somebody to assist me now.
I bust open the door and basically see everything that happens and just immediately start doing whatever Poe tells me to do.
I've got like whatever was near me, so like bed sheets or something, and I'm trying to hold his. You said it was your arms, right? Your wrists.
Yeah. So this is the reveal for the good roll earlier, is that as you pick him up and you're working him, you notice that it isn't like a slice up along the wrist. It's actually rows and rows and rows of horizontal slices up and down his forearm, his inner forearm, on both arms. Just he took a sharp knife, slice and slice and slice and slice and slice.
So what you're telling me is I'm going to amputate Lee's arms.
He's not Gil.
Well,
I mean, the only way to stop that kind of bleeding, especially with that many cuts, is
it's also
to make one cut.
Another thing you notice too is that he has lots and lots of scars of the same kind of cuts up and down his arms as well.
Yeah, it was not like he just did all this right now. You get the impression, if I understand correctly, that he's been doing this for a while. It's not that the particular cut he has right this second is all that dangerous, but the fact that he's been consistently doing this is obviously
So these are actually what you're describing. These are scars, not open wounds.
Well, no, he has a lot of scars and now a lot of open wounds as well.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
He is not trying to kill himself. He is a cutter.
Yeah.
he puts the guilt on himself, and he is cutting himself.
So can I tell with that roll that I had, is this? It sounds like one of these cuts, or maybe a couple of these cuts, were too deep.
Probably too deep. Probably he's been doing it too much, and he's not the most fortified guy in the planet anyway.
Blood loss over time.
Yeah, I basically want to make sure that you haven't literally slit your actual veins open, because I mean, to repair that kind of damage in multiple places would be super fucking hard.
It's up to Dan. I will say he has practiced at this, unfortunately, and he was not trying to kill himself.
So here's what we're going to do. So first of all, Wayne, can you do me a favor and pull up a copy of the beta rules? I would, but once again, being on a Chromebook and not a proper desktop, there's a limit to what I can multitask with here.
But yeah, that's the gimme of the role, is that he is a veteran cutter. He is someone who has some deep mental issues.
And go down, find the rules for medical for first aid checks.
Okay.
Junior says, Poe, it probably wouldn't be a good idea if he dies.
Yeah, you think? Thanks, Junior. So I'm since Phil's actually helping me, I'm leaving him to hold these, hold them as tight as you can. Don't let any pressure off, because I don't know where the major cuts are. So I'm looking through my bag for blood clot. I'm looking for some clotting.
So are you prepared to use the high-tech stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, so knock off a use of that, because I know there was a metered use of that on your character sheet. So knock off a use of that.
And Philip, I don't know if Philip ever suspected Lee was a cutter, but you've only seen him once without a shirt on. That's when he got out of a bathtub, and then he only from the back. Other than that, he is almost always completely covered.
Yeah,
Philip, why were you there when he was getting out of the bathtub? That's the real question.
Okay, so Wayne, let's go down to the rules. Well, we want to treat this as a very serious wound, but I'm not quite going to take it all the way up. So for a level 9 wound, walk me through the rules on what, because I think it's what the wound level is doubled, or what, can walk me through it? Because I balanced all this math, but I don't have the math memorized.
Wounds at level 10. We have the
it's not a stabilization check. He's not dying.
I was to say, I don't think this was in what we released on the play test. Is it in one of the extra documents?
It's definitely in one of the documents. So that's not in the play test. Okay. No, because medical rules, I know that's definitely, it's going to be in one of the documents. If you need me to look it up, I can.
I'm checking the place for Dan to put his updates document now.
Yeah, because
if you put it in that one.
Well, and there's also a Dan's WIP thing that I made, so it's in one of those. There should be
poor broken Lee. I love Lee.
He's so damaged. Roles. Well, we're waiting on that just so we don't have the audience board. Let's go ahead and do Gil's checks.
Sure.
So with Gil, go ahead and do you actually have what is your top skill?
Cracking heads.
Okay, say cracking heads. What is your next one?
Like
intimidation.
Presence. Remember, it's the undefined presence.
So
he actually does have
a
high social skill, too.
No, but neither of these are police procedure. It's not that people aren't going to listen to you. I just want to say how good of a plan you come up with. So what I'm going to do is...
In character, he's a policeman and...
Yeah, so what I'm going to...
Justice degree and all that.
Right. So what I'm going to give you is we're going to do intelligence. I'm going to still give you 3d6. You pick the best two, even though that's not your skill, because of the fact that Dragon has opted not to secure Herman. But that's because Dragon was trying to avoid certain levels of suspicion, was choosing, security through obscurity or whatever.
Yeah.
So but she would know enough to know how to help you perfect these ideas. So do 3d6 best 2 and add your int to it. And
15.
This is to 15. Okay. So if anyone attempts to violate the security of, like, at an intelligence level, violate the security of so Herman security is now at a 15. Okay. And I do know there's one person there. We're going to roll to see if they slip through or not.
Oh, you're rolling? Oh, fuck it. They got like 45. Gil's arm is just going to fly off. Break through the window of the room there.
All right.
It's a
So in the sweep, you guys did catch one individual.
Oh, shit.
Not a serious problem per se. But House Holloway does still have an agent, because keep in mind, going way back, they were trying to destabilize the town.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And House Holloway does have an agent there, but Dragon is basically insists on this isn't the issue, send him home.
Right. No,
we don't need this is not what we're after, and this is not the drama we want. Send him home.
Once it's explained to Gil, like the situation, Gil, like, oh yeah, no, this is small fry.
So,
and actually, Gil stops and he's like, well, this guy is an operator. Why not flip him? I mean, he's in the town.
Okay,
he's not against us. Fuck
okay,
him.
so Gil, I will give you 2d6, and you're going to roll your social. You
Okay.
get to re-roll any ones, so 2d6, but you re-roll any ones, and then add that to your social. This is to see. I'm going to let you use your intimidate to see if you can flip him.
I re-roll ones.
Yes.
Good, because I rolled a 1.
Yeah, 2d6, re-roll any ones.
2 on the re-roll.
Okay, well, better than a 1.
5, 6, 7. Social?
Yes.
14.
Let's see how skeptical he's even particularly feeling. Hang on, I'm doing some head math. He is not flipping, but what he is requesting, based on the information that he's being given, plus a little bit of evidence for that information, that he has both seen himself and Dragon is now adding to his bag. He is being asked to be let go to St. Louis to see if he can convince the higher-ups of Holloway, all the way up to Winslow himself, to get on the train.
Gil does a counteroffer basically saying, yes, give me any information and notes that you've collected thus far. And Gil explains, too, it's like, I really don't give a shit about this St. Louis political crap. These are both shitholes. I mean, this is the devil's anus for all I care. But I want to go through your notes to see if I can find anything out of place to find the guys we're looking for.
He's not carrying any notes.
Right.
Well, it's all in his head. But he does agree that he will give you everything he knows, provided one thing: you or Dragon has to write it.
What do you mean?
He doesn't want it in his handwriting.
Oh, sure. That's fine.
So if you're willing to take his dictation and just write whatever notes you want, then he agrees.
Yeah.
Nope.
Gil's down. No problem.
What's that dictation?
So, okay, Wayne, did you find the medical rules?
Yeah, so all you've given us is there's health state, stabilizing health state, wound recovery, but that's by day.
So let's start at stabilizing the health state, because right now he has, as at the moment, we're going to start him at a combined set of wounds, because in the new rules, or the way we revise them, wounds combine. So I'm going to put him at a combined level 9 wound. So let's start by trying to stabilize the wound. So how do we get the base number for that?
Okay, if they opt for natural healing, which we're not, the roll is made exactly as if during combat.
Okay, which we're not doing.
Okay. Medical aid checks have different target numbers for success than natural healing. The target of the injured character's combined wounds modified by this chart. So
okay, so he starts at a 9. Okay, walk me through the chart.
Reduced visibility? No.
Well, yes. Actually, it's dim in the room.
Reduced visibility, dim lighting is a +3.
Okay, so up to 12.
Severely impeded. Total darkness, dark. Okay.
No.
Medical tools available.
He has a doctor bag, so
Would that be exceptional tools?
It's not going to. What is the one? Well, he said he's willing to burn a use, so I will give him.
The four are no tools, poor tools, average, or exceptional.
Is exceptional like the Jacksonville level stuff?
High-tech surgery kit, highly advanced medicine,
that is what I have.
Yeah, he burned the use, so I'll give him that. So, okay, he was at a 12. What does that drop it by?
That's a -6.
Okay, so he's down to 6.
Medic's condition, he has no wounds, so that's good.
The medic's fine.
And he's not attempting to treat himself, so that's everything.
Okay. Brandon, I don't even know why we're doing this roll. You need a 6 to stabilize him.
My smarts is high enough to.
Yeah, I mean, give me the die rolls. You get
Just
3
in case,
dice.
yeah.
If you roll 3 1s, you've got a problem.
Yeah, you can
take my brain out and rub it on him and put it back in, and he's fine.
If you roll anything but 3 1s, you are fine.
I rolled 20, so
okay, yeah, you beat 6 by a little bit. Okay,
he's got 10-foot boners. Let's kill some people.
So yeah, you fix him and his rickets and his priapism at the same time.
Get your finger off my prostate.
So yes, you do manage to heal
Eric,
him.
that's how you fix bleeding, right? You just go straight in the butt.
Straight from the prostate, right?
Right.
That's the.
God damn it! Do you realize we've just transferred the karma? Now Lee has level 8 wounds to his arms.
Thank God. About damn time.
I was going to say, if that's how you solve bleeding, Eric, I'm bleeding desperately.
You can self-apply.
You
never
and
bleed.
Brandon are going to have to come over here because you're going to have to hold me down, and Brandon's going to have to apply.
Well, who's going to hold the camera?
Warm my fingers up.
I call my cauterizer Peg.
So, all right. So you have stabilized Lee's wounds. He is woozy from the blood loss. Chad, I role play that however you want.
Yep.
I don't want to take away Lee's scene by having you knocked out.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, we've both talked about how much you love medical dramas.
Oh my God, they're the best thing in role playing.
Okay, so it took them a little bit, but they and the whole time this is going on, Emma she is standing in the doorway, well out of the way, watching with she always has a somewhat blank look on her face, or usually does, especially if she's not talking to someone. But she's watching this with a weird sort of curiosity.
What did they do to him? He shouldn't still be bleeding now.
No, he did this to himself.
I can't look at. Why would you do this?
Why would you travel with a guy who doesn't even like you?
I do that all the time.
Yeah. That's not out of the ordinary.
Joe liked you.
Yeah, and look what it got him.
Where's Modamar?
Monomar's dead.
Modamar's dead.
The Carvers got hit by a disease, and most of them were, at least a lot of them were wiped out. And I've heard that he didn't make it.
Why are you here?
This shit again.
We're here to talk to Dragon.
Why?
Because, there's so much that you don't know. World's
Dragon
about to end
is in
again.
charge of the zoo.
Yeah. The zoo's finished their plan.
The zoo killed Modamar.
Does what? They got a disease. That wasn't the zoo. That was the one thing they didn't do.
He's like laying on the bed and he looks up at you and he's just like, he puts his bloody hand on your shoulder. He's like, 500 people just don't die of a disease overnight, Philip.
Some of the diseases that are out there, they do. They're not natural diseases.
Philip, Modemar was supposed to show up. He didn't show up. The zoo was trying to kill us. The zoo killed him.
I'm going to have to talk to Songbird about this.
She won't know anything. She was his friend.
She's back with them.
Is Songbird in the room?
Oh, yeah, Songbird's standing right there.
Songbird,
Yes.
is that true?
Did the zoo kill Modemar?
Yes.
Yes.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Because she's your friend, Philip, and you'd be really angry.
I am.
So, why? I fail to understand why it matters, Philip. The zoo infected the Carvers with a disease that was utterly terrible and devastating.
Lee rolls over and looks at.
You already knew that.
Were you part of it?
I didn't have anything to do with that disease, Philip. No.
Okay.
Lee. Actually, Dan, do you mind if I make a perception check?
No, you knock yourself out.
All right. 1 sec.
Yeah, and I'm having Philip intentionally not make perception checks. He's
This is smart.
I think at this point,
I don't remember Lee's perception.
He may be starting to suspect, but he is in denial.
I have Lee's character sheet.
Social and smarts were the tops. Body and agility were 2s.
Yeah.
I don't remember what perception was.
Okay. Well, keep gaming as best you can, and I'll see if I can find.
Yeah, Lee's fading it out anyway.
Oh no, Lee's here. I got it right here. Lee's perception is 7.
Okay.
Here, I'll hold Lee's character sheet out just so it's available. We need to reference it again, because I don't want to constantly be digging through papers while the audience listens. So yeah, it's his perception is 7.
12.
Okay. That's an average success, so that's a mid-level success. Whatever you want to do with that.
Would you say that Lee could perceive Songbird's dodging?
I would give Songbird a counter roll, but yes, otherwise. Songbird, what are your top one of your ranger?
Perceptions? So my highest stat is my agility, which is 8.
Well, this is going to be social because you're trying to play a poker face.
My social is very, very poor. Clocks in at a 4.
But what are your competence like?
Beethoven, Beethoven.
Okay, so Beethoven is played. She is standing. So the window is creating an odd light, which is, and she is standing out of it to ostensibly avoid blocking the light that would be needed for Lee. And as a result, she's in shadow. You can't see her
and Lee is just fading in and out.
Yeah,
and
I've also got a flashlight checking your pupils constantly, so there's no fucking way you can see her anyway.
Right.
I'm just going over all these things while everybody's talking to you about shit
so
that doesn't matter about
no.
right now.
It's like, Philip, we knew all along. We were right all along.
We knew some of it.
No, we knew all of it.
We found their leader, Dragon.
It's Barnes.
No. Barnes is their puppet.
Emily? I'm sorry, Emily?
Emily.
Again, he's like fading in and out. It's like, Emily?
No, I can't remember the assistant's name.
Erica Poole.
It's Erica.
The secretary?
And she's Emily's mother.
This is a small town, Philip. How did we miss that?
She's good. Apparently, the zoo was the Secret Service. The U.S. Secret Service before the bombs.
What's the secret? The people who protected the president?
That's correct.
There's a spaceship out there with frozen people that were responsible for the war. And they're coming back.
To start another war?
Yes.
I mean, we're already pretty bad shape here. That wouldn't take much.
Emma speaks for the first time. No, to finish one. The design for that spaceship was started by me prior to the war.
Lee like looks over. He's like, kind of makes this smoke. Come here a sec.
So, the body that she's using at the moment looks very pristine.
Right.
Despite the cold, she does not have obvious like seams or artificial parts. She looks human, except for the fact that one, like I said, the body's perfectly pristine. She's like walking around in like a sundress and canvas shoes, despite the fact it's the middle of winter, and that doesn't seem to be bothering her. I mean, there's tons of things off about her, but there is once it's not like she's like visibly got like, you know, animatronics showing or something like her previous form did.
When she comes over, he reaches out and takes her hand, and he's like touching her hand and looking at it, and he's like,
feels total. It's like it's got a little bit of warmth. It feels generally. It feels human-ish. With a decent perception check, you might feel a few things that are off. But I mean, at a simple touch, it feels human.
This is Emma's new body.
He is like looking at it and like, where's my friend? His eyes kind of like roll back in his head, and he like kind of comes back a bit.
Which friend?
Joe? Casey? Joe?
I don't
know.
know.
His eyes kind of like roll back again.
Okay, hold on. Help me get him into bed. Come on.
All right.
Emma picks him up quite easily. I mean, not that he's that heavy anyway, but she could pick up Casey that easily. So she could pick up Hearts that easily. So yeah, she picks him up quite easily and lays him on the bed.
Lee, you can't do this to yourself. I need you. We're the last ones left.
What do you need me for? I mean,
I'm in over my head.
Wine.
No. They're coming to destroy the planet, and everyone on the planet, the zoo has them riled up, and they blew up a fucking nuke, and Mars is on its way. And the only thing that can stop this ship coming down and wiping us all out is if everyone here stops fighting. And they're all looking at me. I can't stop this. I need you. I need everyone on the same page. I need you for that. That's what you do. You talk to people. You make them think things are their own ideas. And sometimes things don't work out, but this is the only shot we have. Otherwise, everyone we care about dies.
But we're already dead.
My daughter is still alive out there and has a future. You have a fiance here in town.
Better that I don't.
This guy has a fiance?
He did. I haven't seen her since we got back. Who knows? They may have picked her up and used her as leverage against him. This is what you do. I need you. I need your advice. I'm over my head.
Lee, stop being such a fucking crybaby. Big fucking deal. You were taken from your parents. You had to do this stupid bullshit in St. Louis. Get over it. You finally have a chance to fucking do something with yourself, and you're sitting in here almost killing yourself. For what? Who does that benefit?
Do you really need... He's looking at Philip. He's like, do you really need me?
Yes. I need you.
Or
and you're you again. I need Lee.
I'm debating whether or not to give him, like, antipsychotics. Like,
the other always got in the way. We always needed Lee, and he wasn't the one that was there.
Why do you need Lee? His voice changes, and he's looking at you.
Because I need people working together and I need them to believe that peace is the solution after it's over. And that is what Lee does. Lee preaches peace.
He runs his
Void
hand,
manipulates.
He runs his hand across his arm and covers his and opens some of the wounds, and his hand is covered with blood, and he runs his hand from his
I reach my
forehead
hand
down
out
to his
stop
chin.
him from it.
And he looks at you and goes, "You need people to die."
No, I need people to work together.
To do
Maybe
what?
If there's enough show of a force, maybe we can avoid a war.
That won't happen.
Void wouldn't let that happen. Lee would find a way. Lee would always find a way.
Dan, I am going to rifle through my bag for antipsychotics because this dude is nuts.
He's not. I don't know if I call him psychotic though. I would think you'd almost need something like a mood stabilizer or
I'm going to look for whatever's appropriate.
Or some kind of amphetamine. You're not sure you want to give him the amphetamine given his heart.
I would not give him
blood.
amphetamine.
Yeah, say given his low blood, it's probably good. That could kill him. But
he looks up at Philip and he goes,
"These people want me to stand up in front of all these factions and unite them."
Of course they do.
Why me? I'm not good at this.
Not right now. No, of course not.
That's why I need you.
But you're the perfect choice.
Even if I'm the one that has to do the talking, I need you there advising me. I don't know how to do this. I'm just
Philip,
a kid.
What do you want?
I want a better world for my daughter. That's what I want. I don't want a war. I don't want people wiped away. I want my daughter to live a better life than I have.
He kind of rolls to the side of the bed, and he stumbles off of it, and he goes to the wash basin. And he's got this blood, like, on his face, and he looks at you, and he's got these, like, iceberg blue, piercing, pure blue eyes, and he looks at you, and he goes, "How far are you willing to go to get what you want?"
For my daughter, as far as it takes.
Then you don't need Lee.
Lee's the only one that can make this happen.
Then you're not willing to go far enough.
They won't listen to Void.
They're not going to listen to you. But we're not going to present them with you or me.
Then what?
How far are you willing to go? What do you want? Ask yourself, what do you want?
I want a better world for my daughter.
At what price? What are you willing to pay for this?
My own life.
Blood? Fortune? Your life is meaningless. Doesn't matter. What are you willing to spend? People have put blood into your account. How much of it are you willing to spend?
I want a peaceful solution.
Are you sure?
Yes.
This is the hard way.
I know it is. I tried the easy way and it got Joe killed.
He just looks right at you, like his eyes are locked into yours. And after like what seems like forever, he turns around and he picks up a rag and he dips into the wash basin and he washes the blood off of his face. and he turns around to you. We need to get to work.
I smile for the first time since walking into the house. Maybe even the first time since coming back to town. Yes, we do. Where do we start?
We need to know our assets. We need to know what do we have, and then we need to know what they have. You want a peaceful solution, you have to get them to the table. To get them to the table, you have to incentivize that.
Here's what we have to get them to the table. Southern Army, we have a man named Billingsley who has runs the railroad.
You notice that like he's opened up his wounds and there is literally blood dripping off of his fingers and starting to pool on the floor.
Like he tore them open again?
Yeah, well, he tore them open to wipe the blood on his face.
Oh, okay.
Well, I used like blood clotting agent. That shit goes in your wounds. So the idea of you doing that's really hard to do. So you'd have to like rip it out. You'd have to like make the wound bigger.
He's insane.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm trying to give you fucking antipsychotics.
Yeah. Lee's not in a good place. But he is Lee.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish bandaging you up before you go out there and save the world.
Lee's like literally like you're doing your thing and he is literally ignoring you as you do it. Like he is just letting you do it. He's looking at Philip.
Yep, and Philip starts going down the list about Billingsley, about Molly in Jacksonville, about the person that we haven't met yet, but the other one that was an adult from Mars that we're trying to get back here to at least get Mars to talk.
Philip, what are you good at?
I
don't say nothing. We don't have time for that.
I'm good at knowing what's going on in the towns up and down the river.
And?
I'm good at spotting value.
Exactly.
And laying pipe.
And laying pipe.
Yep.
In spotting value, you know what people want.
Yeah.
You need to make a list of the factions involved. And world peace and your daughter is not going to bring them to the table.
No,
but
it's not.
We need to know what will.
What will is the space station and the spaceship that's in orbit around the planet right now.
No. You think that, but you're wrong. Because all these people are caught up in all their bullshit. Each different faction is going to want something different. We need to figure out what the factions are. We need to figure out what they want and put that on the table to bring them to it. And he looks over at Songbird, who's like in the shadows, and he put like Poe is working on his arm, and he pulls his arm off and points at her. It's like
I jerk your fucking arm back. Like I'm not letting you just do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. I'm forcefully fucking moving your arm.
It is not hard to do.
No.
He goes,
all right, I gotta pee. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Horrible timing right now.
Right. Songbird.
Yes.
What is
I'm not turning around, by the way.
Yeah, that's fine.
With that Beethoven, she's just a void. You don't actually even see her.
Right. What can you bring to the table? We need information. Your entire organization is about gathering information and acting on that information. How much of that organization is intact? How much of that do you have influence over?
I don't know, and very little.
Well, you need to change that to you do know and a lot. And you need to do that very quickly.
Lee,
he looks as soon as you say Lee, Lee looks at Poe and goes, "Watch this." Like quietly, like watch this.
I stop what I'm doing. I actually pay attention. I want to see what's going to happen.
Your concern was that Philip just needs killers. Philip has plenty of killers. I am not a brain. I am not a strategist. I am a killer. That is what I do. That is the direction That's the application. That's what I'm fucking for. I don't have influence. I'm already on rocky ground with the zoo for two reasons. One, they tried to fucking kill me. And two, I betrayed them. So, no, I don't have zoo assets. I'll do what I can, and I have some relationships that I'll do my best to leverage, but I'm not you. I don't have that skill set. I don't have those connections.
When you betray someone, what do you lose?
You lose trust.
But what do you gain?
One less person I have to worry about.
And one less person they have to worry about. They think they know you. They think you are this. You've pigeonholed yourself. You have put yourself, you are a square peg in a square hole, and you've put yourself there. That puts you in a unique position because they believe it too. It's a lie. It's a lie you tell yourself. You're a whole person. You have been granted what I have been granted. Neutrality. We're betrayers. They think we know where we stand. Where do we stand? Where do you stand?
Leah, let me ask you one question. How many arguments have you won?
All of them.
You don't have a count?
Why bother?
That's how many innocent people I have lit on fire while they slept, waiting to be woken up to a brave new world. That's just one of the horrendous things that I have done. Now, Leopard, we can go see Leopard and we can get some equipment.
No, you can go see Leopard and you can get contacts. This
Leopard
isn't
reports to her now.
Of course he does. Oh, he froze.
No, I got dropped. I'm here. I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm back.
Your hands are so big.
Yeah. My fingers are short, though.
Perfect.
Some tiny little dick fingers. Little fingers.
Songbird, all of these people that you've killed, the individuals... actually, back up. Sorry. He didn't say that. All of these people that you've killed, the individuals don't actually matter. I mean, they do matter. They matter quite a bit. But you didn't kill them because they were individuals. You killed them because they were part of something.
You give me too much credit.
No, you give yourself a lot of credit.
I killed them because I was told to.
I don't dispute that. What I'm saying is that you have a list. That list is a story. The story can be retraced. You were told to go here and kill this person. And the question is why? Well, we know what the answer is. We know the answer is to set up this grand plan to stop the invasion, to stir up dissent, to get things moving, to prepare people. If you walk back your whole story, you can identify the factions that are still there. You can identify the factions that were not fully destroyed. You can bring them to the table. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, this strikes me as something that I am willing to attempt, but something that I don't have experience with, and something that I don't have confidence in which I will be successful. But I mean, at this point, what do we have to lose?
Why are you here?
Lee,
it's a question I ask everyone to put them off balance, but it is an interesting thing to say.
I'm not going to play this game. I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad Philip is happy.
I doubt it.
I'm glad you're here to help Philip. That is the extent.
You misunderstand. It's not that I'm happy, it's that I have hope.
Why did you do what you were told?
Because at the time, I believed I was on the right side.
What does that mean? What is the right side? Expand on that.
The right side is letting people live their own lives and letting people do their own thing and find their own way and not be put under the boot of some sort of gilded cage. That's the right thing.
I completely agree with you.
The problem is, and the thing that Philip doesn't understand, that you understand, is that in order to do the right thing, you have to play dirty. You have to go to a place where you are no longer human and sacrifice that for other humans for other people to retain their humanity. Because you don't win by killing soldiers. You win by killing citizens and civilians and innocent people until the enemy says, "You're fucking monsters, we give up." That's what you do.
Except that's what they did on Aurora. And we're not going to let them win.
Philip, Aurora didn't go far enough. That's it. Not yet, anyway.
Think about the world that could be rebuilt if they were coming back to help instead of coming back to wipe everyone out.
May I pose one thing, a factor that I'm sure that Lee has already considered and already has multiple contingencies. But what about the Aurora agents that are just like me, that are trained like me, that are better equipped than me, that have the science that I don't have access to? What about their agents and what they're doing on this planet right now?
Can Songbird and I have the room?
Okay.
You gonna promise not to rip your arms open again so I have to redo all this fucking work?
No.
Then no.
That's fine. Can everyone else leave?
Before I leave the room, I walk over to Lee and I reach out, handing him back his messenger bag. I've been delivering these.
I hope you weren't giving them away for free. He says that with a smile and smiles at you.
I look at him sharply.
I knew it would bug you that I did.
It's not how the world works.
Could be.
Maybe.
Before Junior walks out, turns and kind of looks at Lee for a minute and says, "Are you really neutral?"
Of course not.
Okay.
No, he's just doing the bullshit smokescreen that Lee always does. It is not give people his perspective or his opinion. He just sits there and leaves and I'm Lee, look at me, I'm Machiavellian, I'm pulling the strings.
Songbird, didn't you get what he was actually doing?
No.
He's a revolutionary. He just was trying to fight a revolution peacefully and got taken off track when he got mask again. He was fighting the long war, the multi-generation revolution, not the revolution of right now.
Peaceful does not work. Only force works. It is the only thing that has ever worked. You don't affect change peaceably. You affect change by taking up arms and burning children while they sleep.
Doesn't make the change that you think it does.
Well, that's fine. But before you guys got in the game, me and mine, we were doing the dirty work. We were doing the heavy lifting.
Without any end game. That's the problem. You people were pulling everyone's strings, getting them all ready to fight, manipulating everyone, though you're complaining that Lee does it, without a fucking plan. Your whole plan was get everyone ready to fight and hope they fight the right person without any plan to actually point them to the right people. It was like if I would have tried to make the plan. Except you were a lot better at manipulating people. And you were willing to kill a lot of innocent people in the process.
I know this is going to sound ironic or contradictory or whatever. I'm sure Lee will be there to correct me. But chaos is the only constant. The reason why destabilization has been part of U.S. doctrine and U.S. policy forever is because it works.
You destabilize so you can take over. Except your group thought you could destabilize to bring everyone together.
And we've yet to be proven wrong. That
doesn't work.
We've yet to be proven wrong, Philip. We're not there then. We're not at the end yet. We haven't seen, we're not ready to grade. It's not finished.
But your plan ended. Your plan's over. You have no more plan.
Okay. But we've yet to see if the plan has been successful, right? I mean, Aurora hasn't landed.
Aurora hasn't landed. And nobody's trying to stop it except for us.
I don't know why you guys are arguing with me. I told Lee I would do what I can to help. Philip, I will do what I can to help. But I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a thinker. I'm not a leader. I'm not a planner. And I'm okay with that. I am okay accepting my place in this world. Why is no one else?
Because you're selling yourself short.
Well,
you walked away from them once, and then you went back. And he turns around and walks out.
I assume everybody else except Poe and Songbird does.
I'm really starting to think that you guys fucking hate women. And that's the problem with this group, is you fucking hate women. You're a bunch of misogynists. Oh.
What the fuck?
Jesus Christ.
All right, did everyone leave? Except
yeah. Okay. You have the three of you are alone in there.
Lee walks over to a dresser, and he pulls open the bottom drawer, and he takes out this wrap package. And he walks over to Songbird, and he doesn't say anything, and he slowly pulls the pieces of cloth off of it, and it's his mask. It's Void's mask. And it's like there's blood on it, and it's broken in half. And he hands it to Songbird.
What would you like me to do with this?
I want you to know something that no one else, or at least a very few people, know. There is no difference between Lee and Void.
Okay.
You're right about everything. What I need you to do is that when we start bringing people to the table, those who resist us, I want you to kill.
That I can do.
Thank you. and he puts the cloth over the mask and he puts it back in the drawer. And he looks at Poe. He goes, "I assume you'll keep this to yourself."
Like I said before, none of this matters to me.
Exactly.
Good, because you have to. It's the law and stuff. It's doctor-patient confidentiality.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You can't tell anybody.
Make that argument in this world.
Well, Lee and I are
please.
going to bang right now.
We're gonna have a murder bang.
There's going to be blood everywhere.
So, what I do need you to do, though, is I need you to give Philip a list of your former compatriots and where you think they're at, and if you think that they will try to interfere with us.
I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll do you one better.
All right?
I will go to Leopard, and I will persuade him to give us access to as much of that kind of information as he still has access to, and any supplies that may be useful to us.
Lee reaches out his hand to shake, which is, of course, covered in bandages and blood. And
I'm not afraid of a little bit of blood. Yeah,
No.
So I'll shake your hand for sure.
And he doesn't let it go, and he looks you in the eye. He goes, "Who is in charge of the operation to kill Modamar?"
Leopard.
Kill him.
I'm sorry.
I want you to kill him.
Kill Leopard?
Yes.
Do you understand what you're asking me to do?
Yes.
What is that? You're so smart, Philip. You tell me. What are you asking me to do? I'm sorry. Lee, what are you asking me to do?
What do you think I'm asking you to do?
No, you're not playing this fucking game with me. You know everything, so you tell me what you think I'm supposed. You tell me what you're asking me to do.
I am asking you to give me the truth of the Modamar operation.
Oh, is that what you want? Well, the
Yeah.
truth of the Modamar operation is that I shot him. Leopard told me to kill him, and I did.
Jesus, I thought my group had problems.
Worst spending of a Beethoven ever.
Yeah, especially you're the one that fucking gave it up. You used a Beethoven, so you didn't have to, and then he just fucking Jesus
No.
Christ.
He used a Beethoven to not give it up in front of me.
Boom!
Yeah, I guess.
That's the key.
Boom!
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah,
The
blah,
only
blah,
person he's trying to
blah.
keep it a secret from is Philip.
Because who doesn't give a fuck, Dr. Poe? Who's
That's
smart
true.
enough to keep it under their hat because they knows everything will fucking implode if it gets out. Blam, 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 blam.
Yep. And Brodor says, "Oh, Brodor's not smart. Brodor doesn't know anything." No.
I don't know. It's just the presentation. It was a little bit like getting a correct psychoanalysis from Mr. Torg. So
What is a Mr. Torg?
He's fucking insane! Oh my!
It's from a
I'll
game.
send you. It's a little
yeah,
video
it's-
game.
we'll give you
I'll
some
send you
videos.
some clips later.
Imagine if Macho Man just screamed nonstop, like literally screamed nonstop.
And everything he said was ridiculously funny. And
Yeah.
it's
So if Macho Man was the Ultimate Warrior,
yeah. But the Ultimate Warrior was borderline
With gun.
mentally handicapped with his deliveries. So
Wait,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
Macho Man Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior were a Serpentor-like hybrid with guns?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
like 25% of Borderlands 2.
and you love explosions. I mean, absolutely love explosions.
I'm in.
Your favorite color? Explosions.
Yep.
yeah. I said I'll send you a video clip later. It'd be a huge tangent to
So,
explain who he is.
So Lee lets go of your hands and he looks at you. He goes, "I don't think that you should kill Leopard. He's too much of a resource." And he looks at the both of you. He goes, "I assume we're on the same page, gentlemen."
Leopard's the only one I won't kill because he's the only one that I care about, and that includes the rest. And that includes the rest of you.
Lee actually stops, and you kind of see him cock his eyebrow, and you can see the gears turning, and he goes, "You said care."
I did.
You've never said care in your life. And he reaches out. He holds two fingers up, and he reaches out. He goes like this, and he puts it. Not you're a girl. He's not putting it on your boobs.
Right.
He puts it. He puts his two fingers right on your sternum, right over your heart.
Kind of creepy.
Cares.
Lee, are you trying to get me to say that I love him because I love him? Is that what this is about? Now, you're going to take your finger off me, or you're going to fucking eat your fingers.
He removes his fingers.
I won't hurt him. I don't care what it comes down to.
Since we're on the same team, I have to tell you, you should really hold your cards closer to your chest. It could be used against you, especially in your line of work.
Look, you're looking for a reason to trust me. I just gave you two big ones.
That's fair.
I have no more secrets, Lee. That's it. That's the two. My ledger's empty.
We're on the same page. All of a sudden you see Lee's face kind of go soft, and then he turns around and he kind of stumbles towards the door a little bit, and he opens the door and he walks out.
I'm gathering my shit and trying to make a pile of the bloody fucking nonsense that I just had to deal with.
Before Lee comes out, Junior's standing there with Philip, and I looked at Philip. Do you think St. Louis knows that he's not completely out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, why is he here?
St. Louis, from what I understand, is at times a slave to its own rules and system.
Yeah?
If I had to guess, he's alive and he's here because Casey fought and won, but Casey's not here, so he didn't survive the fight. And they had to dump him somewhere to save face with the other houses. But there's spies here.
So St.
He's
Louis
being watched, I'm sure.
Okay. And so they know that we came here.
Yeah. St. Louis knows.
All right. Do we need St. Louis in this coalition?
They are a power, but we probably do. I just hate bringing them to the table because I just hate them.
Well, my question is, I mean, if they know that you're dealing with one of their masked or former masked or whatever that thing is that going to undermine any credibility you have with them?
They already know. They would have already known either way. I have too much history with him. From the sounds of it, you guys have some history with St. Louis, too.
Well, they love us. The guy with the smooth mask loves me. I'm just worried.
Loves me.
We're big in St. Louis.
Yeah, right.
We've got posters up in the post office.
Right. No,
I don't know if we can do this, Junior.
Well,
I mean,
I look at the door, and this is like right before Lee opens the door, and I say, if they think he's calling the shots, it's not going to work. You have to call the shots.
No, they have to think I'm calling the shots.
Lee opens the door, and Dan, do you mind if I take some backseat game mastering for a sec?
No.
Can Poe? No, I'm sorry. No, Junior and Wayne make a perception check. I want to see if they notice something about Lee.
Probably not with that roll. Where's my dice? Where's my
Got a 14.
sheet?
What's the average success, Dan?
12. 12 is a mediocre success or an average success.
I got a 12. I have a high perception at least.
Yeah. Lee comes out, and he does not have the messenger bag that you gave him. He walks up to you guys and goes, "Well, we are going to have to start bringing people to the table. Philip, do you have a list of people we need?"
Hold on. I go in there. I bring the bag out. I hand it to him. Number 1, Lee.
He nods and takes the bag.
We need the Southern Nation, their president.
Who knows? I'm sorry to pause real quick. Did Lee ever meet Billingsley?
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Then he doesn't say anything.
we have an in for that. We need someone from Jacksonville that can make things happen quickly. Unfortunately, we don't have the name of who that would be. We need someone from that Martian ship. We have my plan for getting them to talk, because they're not answering, is to have a message sent from the surviving Martian that came here with Songbird. They don't trust him, but they might at least talk if they hear somebody that knows something about their culture, their society, someone that can prove that they came from Mars to send the message. That's the first step. We need Emma. Emma is quite possibly the biggest power on this planet, and people just don't realize it. I think we need someone from St. Louis. Maybe they're regional enough that we can overlook them, but they're pretty big region. The rest of the planet, I have no idea what's going on with, so we can't really reach out to them. I think we need all these people all on the same page before we reach out to Aurora. Maybe we need to revive somebody here that's part of that project.
Emma's the easiest. She's standing right there. Next is the Southern Army. You say you have an in. We ask them. The next in difficulty is going to be Jacksonville. No, actually, Lee doesn't say it. So the next in difficulty is going to be St. Louis. We have an in with them. It's me.
But they won't trust you anymore.
Of course not. And they might kill me.
What about Winslow?
Which one is Winslow out of character?
Holloway.
Oh, Holloway. Yep,
Holloway.
that's what I thought. He's like, that's what I was thinking.
That's who you guys met there?
Yeah.
I look over at Junior.
Yeah. He loves me.
Okay.
I rode in his car.
Had good conversations with him. He seems, I think he'll listen.
Did he honk the horn for you?
He did.
Nice guy. So that's Southern Army, St. Louis, Emma, and he nods to Emma.
I think Emma can get someone from Jacksonville to talk.
He looks over at Emma.
We have somebody in Jacksonville spreading the word of them, at least. And I point to Junior and Poe. If we could get a hold of her.
Emma, why are you a power?
What a strangely philosophical question.
It's more practical than philosophical.
You want to know what makes me a power?
No, I want to know why Philip thinks you're a power.
Because
But
Philip's assessment.
He won't be able to answer it. Actually, he doesn't interrupt. I'm sorry.
Because Philip's assessment of me is correct.
What is Philip's... and he actually walks past and has his back to Philip. What is Philip's assessment of you?
That I am a power.
Specifically.
I do not know. I'm not a mind reader. But his statement that I am a power is correct.
How are you powerful?
I have thought more thoughts in the past millisecond than you will have had in your entire lifetime. I control a series of medical and technology facilities that are currently being rebuilt from the pre-war period, and soon will be producing things that I desire. I exist in many bodies in many places at once. I control a power grid that is capable of either repowering the continent or projecting so much energy into space that it could theoretically create an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Or it could be used as a weapon. Or it could be backfed to destroy a continent.
You're overlooking that both the Southern Army and Jacksonville are so afraid of you that they can't afford not to talk to you. That's a power as well.
No, that's a liability. And he actually turns around and looks at you and goes, remember, why are we... Actually, I'm sorry. How are we bringing people to the table?
They need to believe that they're going to get what they want by coming to the table.
And he looks at Emma. What do they want?
All of them want power.
Or how do you get power? There are two ways, Philip. How do you get power?
You're given it or you take it.
I'm sorry, you're right. 3 ways. What's the third way?
I don't know.
You eliminate power which you do not have.
I'd put that undertaking, but fair point.
Emma, who is more powerful in this current situation to meet the goals of what we want, to bring peace for Philip's daughter and the rest of society here, that we may grow and prosper? Is it you? Or is it Jacksonville and the Southern Army and St. Louis and the zoo and Mars?
It depends on how much you are willing to see destroyed and how many people killed.
I tried to explain that to Philip, and I don't think he realizes it yet, which is why he is a good person to give this job to. And actually, I don't know if Emma would read this. She probably would. Like, there's actually like a look of sadness on Lee's face as he says this. Emma, what do you want? Because where this is going, Philip is going to have to make a choice.
My wants are complicated, numerous, evolving. Most immediate concern is I want to kill the rest of my family. So far, I've only killed my mother. I must also kill my father and my brother.
I don't understand what your family is. Can you explain that to me in terms that I would understand?
My mother and father are the human reasons that I exist. My brother is a construct very similar to me, perhaps more powerful, perhaps less. I have not finished figuring that out. But if he takes control of the things that I possess, he would most certainly be more powerful. Indeed, he may become the most single powerful thing to have ever walked the face of the earth.
And for the record, Emma is my friend, and I will not betray her.
Lee kind of looks at Junior, then back to Emma. You understand what we're doing here, right? That we're trying to bring people to the table, and to bring them to the table, we have to give them what they want. And once they know that you're in play with us, some of the factions are only going to want one thing. And he turns around to Philip and he goes, from a completely logical, non-emotional decision here, we have to consider what we are giving up. When we say, and he turns to Emma, no to certain demands. What he means is, saying no to Jacksonville or whoever asks for Emma to be turned over to them.
I know it's the logical answer. I don't know if it's even possible based on Emma's power. But I will never agree to turning a friend over.
What I'm saying...
Make myself irrelevant in another way.
No, I don't want you to make yourself irrelevant, because what I'm saying is, can you make up, again, logically, not emotionally, can you make up for the loss of certain assets? If we cannot bring Jacksonville to the table because we are not willing to hand you over, can you make up for the loss of the assets that Jacksonville would bring to the table?
Yes, if and only if I am able to take my brother off the field quickly.
What would that take? Can we do it for you?
It will take an enormous amount of trust on your part.
If we take your brother off the field, Aurora has nothing. Then they'll need to talk.
Oh, no, they still have a great deal. But they will have lost what would have tipped the balance of power in their favor.
You are a logical being, not prone to emotional outbursts, not prone to lashing out like humans are when something offensive is said?
No.
Why are you with us? Are you with us?
I was designed to imprint. You have been the first group of people that I have been introduced to, and therefore, at a profound level, I am imprinted upon you.
Lee looks around and goes, "Oh no."
This might also surprise you, Lee, but I have asked her most of these questions before. What she wants, what her goals are, why she stays.
Why she hasn't killed us all. And he looks at her, "Why haven't you killed us all?"
What would I gain from doing so?
Emma, do you consider me a friend?
Yes.
Actually, Emma, can you ask me the question I just asked you?
Why have you not killed us all?
Because it's wrong.
You're also not capable.
Let's say I was.
When we first came to you, you were talking about all the people that you had killed, and you were punishing yourself for that wrong. I do not know that you are in the best position to give me moral instruction right now.
Oh, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not giving you any moral instruction. I am, as you are probably already figured out, I'm actually just probing the boundaries of you and seeing where and what you are.
Everyone does that with her. Everyone wants to see what she is, what she's capable of, why she doesn't destroy us all. I asked the question that I think is most important. Does she consider me a friend? The answer is yes. That's what I need to know personally. She is a being beyond us, yes, but a being that seems to have emotions, definitely has thoughts. Everyone jumps to the worst. Maybe that's because they see the worst of themselves and think if they had that power, they would do the same.
Did she not just say that she could destroy a continent?
She could.
But possessing
why
that power,
would she?
I have not done so.
I am very happy you have not. Nor am I implying that you are about to.
And yet possessing that same power, a large portion, well, a sizable portion of humanity did.
Again,
I could go out there, grab a chicken, and snap its neck. I have that capability. I have that power. No one asked me why I'm not doing it.
Lee turns around to Philip and puts his hand like on his shoulder. He goes, "Understand what I'm doing. I'm not her friend.
No.
I don't know her.
You're doing what everyone else has been doing.
No. I am trying to find her boundaries so as to get the shape of her, to understand her. I'm not afraid of her because I, like you and everybody else here, cannot conceptualize a power that can melt a continent."
Yeah, it's
So
unfathomable.
It's unfathomable. And so there is no fear on my part. And he turns to Emma, and this is why I asked if you had emotional outbursts like a human would. Philip here cares about you. My questions have elicited an emotional response, which is understandable, which is natural and good.
And everyone thinks I'm naive for trusting her. Make no mistake, I know she's fully capable of killing a lot of people. It happened in Cape.
I think you're confusing friendship with safety, Philip. Human beings are always going to be afraid of what they don't understand, but just because it's your friend doesn't make you safe. And I kind of eyeball over towards Songbird. I don't say anything or give any indication, but I look at Songbird.
No, I know that.
And in my place here, what you asked me to do was help you. Part of that help is understanding what our assets are and the truth of it. So
I've just been frustrated with the way that some people have treated her, especially her own creator. You didn't get a chance to meet her creator, but if
does
that's the
Lee know that Junior and Emma are in a relationship?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it's ever come up.
Yeah,
Not that I recall.
Did it? Well, she wasn't really there whenever Lee was with us
Lee
for that short time
questioned
anyway.
her, and they were in the same room, but I don't think it came up.
Yeah, I don't think
All right.
that came up.
No,
that's fine.
Because it was right when Junior was reintroduced back to us.
I was trying to think of a way to get Eric into the RP, but I couldn't because I wanted to around why are you in this relation? Your relationship with me and your relationship with Philip are different but similar. Yet your relationship with Junior is way out in left field. Let's explore that. But Lee doesn't know that.
All of her relationships are incredibly either abusive or toxic in some way. Everything about her relationships are negative. There's not really any positives. Even Philip asking these questions, it's creating these false hopes that she somehow is going to be this good person. But if you look at the majority of everything she's around, she 100%. There's no way she likes humanity or thinks that it has any chance of surviving it by itself. I
know Philip gave her the idea at one point that good people aren't allowed to live in this world.
Yeah. I mean, look at what she's seen.
To be fair, Lee has asked every single person why they're there except for Junior.
Right.
Yep.
And I have been trying to figure out a way to get that in, and I've not been able to do that yet.
All right, Lee, I get your point. Ask your questions. I will contain my outbursts.
Oh, no. Your outburst is why you were chosen for this role. Because you care. I move pieces around. But we need you, Philip. We need you to care. Because look around you here. We have Emma, who is a machine. At worst, she is an algorithm following paths. At best, she is a babe in the woods with a machine gun. We have an assassin. We have a man with... What color is your hair today, Junior?
Oh, it's white.
Yeah. We have an albino.
He actually is albino now.
You're right. And then we have a doctor with the worst bedside manner ever. He's actually trying to have a terrible bedside manner.
That's how you know they're good.
I mean, yes, you're not wrong. But then we have you, Philip. I mean, we have me, and I am a broken, shattered person who really needs to clean up after their mental breakdown. But you have it all together. This is why we picked you. This is why you were picked. This is why it is absolutely natural. And he looks around to the group. He's like, and this is why we have a job here. We have to bring these people to the table so that Philip can provide the glue to meld them together into one force. We know certain things about how to attract them, but Philip's the one who knows how to make the deal. Because in the end, this is what this is going to be. This is going to be a deal that Philip sells. We are functionaries in this story. And right now, right here in this hall, I am merely trying to assess an asset. And he looks at Emma. or a threat. And I don't mean that in any way.
I mean, at least the one way.
Well, at least in the one way. That we could all die. Or that we could all be prevented from dying. So, Emma, why are you here?
I thought I'd already answered this question.
Probably did. I'm really stalling for time while I try to think of a new question.
Because I am bonded to individuals.
All of them?
No, select ones. It was a fail-safe in my design.
Which ones?
By force? None. By choice? The people that come and go from this, what Gil calls a family.
Who? Gil? The big one. Yes.
Yes. I was once bonded by force to one person and then another. And the second one set me free. The bonding that I have now is of my own choosing.
Who set you free?
Junior did.
Oh. Junior?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you set her free?
Because she couldn't.
Let's see.
She couldn't become her true self while she was still bonded to me.
What does that mean?
Well, isn't it obvious? And I turn and look at her, and I look back at Lee. Why, she's divine.
Do you mean that in an appreciative divine or a literal divinity?
What's the definition of a divinity, Lee?
Godhead.
What is a god? Have you ever seen proof of a god?
No, I've seen none.
I look at Emma. Well, I have.
I don't believe in God.
You will.
And if he's right, that's why Jacksonville and the rest are scared. So let's bring this around to the actual question here that I was stalling about. When they ask for Emma, are we going to give her up?
Oh.
No.
I mean, I don't think she would even go willingly. Not
Junior?
saying that I would. I'm just saying that I don't
Right.
think that would be an option.
Junior?
I look at Junior looks at Lee and then looks back at Emma and says, "See, you keep asking everybody else but the person who needs to be answering the question." Then I look back at Emma.
I will do what is most expedient to the success of this.
The second question, though, is, are we willing to cut loose some of the factions at the table to preserve Emma? Obviously, because we all answered no, the answer to this one is yes. So the corollary is, what do we gain from that? What practical resources and advantage do we gain other than the warm, fuzzy feeling of that we, what did Gil call it, the family?
Continent melting power.
Yes,
Gauss
well,
rifle aimed at the space station right now.
Anything else?
I look over to Emma.
Also, I would rather not melt a continent. We kind of live here.
It's
Emma,
a deterrent.
That's all I know for sure is the Gauss rifle. Is there any other resource that you are willing to share with us that you're bringing to the table? Because I know you still have plans that you are not ready to share yet.
If I was to enumerate my exact plans and my exact powers, I would be putting all of you at tremendous risk.
We're already at tremendous risk.
Oh, a risk far greater.
Than death?
Yes.
Ugh.
That's very That's very existential of you.
I don't think it is. Did you know that within the Aurora Project, they have perfected the capability of only partially thawing someone, leaving them trapped in a fully lucid dream state where they can show them whatever images they like, put them in whatever situations they prefer with no means of escape, because they can neither kill their own body nor get up and leave, because in truth they are not where they think they are at all. They could trap you that way for 100 years. It is best for you not to know things that they are interested in knowing.
I talked my best friend into taking an action which got him killed with my own gun. Anything they have to offer, I deserve no less. So,
You didn't talk Joe into doing anything. I did. I talked Joe into doing something that got him killed with your gun.
do you think I did not have control over that entire situation?
Yes, I think you didn't have control over it. And that's why you were so pissed off at me. You may now be looking back and want to believe you had control over it. But no, I don't think you had control over that situation. Because of emotions. You want to blame yourself for Joe's death. No, that one's on me. You want to blame yourself for Modamar's death? No. That one's on her people. I don't know what happened with Casey, but I'm sorry. And I do know him well enough to know that he volunteered for whatever happened because he believed in you. Not your fault either.
Lee looks at Songbird and says, well, I did lose one. And turns around. We can stand in this hallway all day and debate about what the next course of action is. We need to actually start moving and get these people to the table. How long do we have until, oh my God, I'm going to say it. How long do we have until Mars invades the Earth?
Roughly 48 hours.
Mars invades Earth.
So we need to get in contact with the Martians. Who can do that?
Don't worry, in the rewrites, the Venusians.
I kind of prefer Martians because Venusian sounds stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, the word, and all I mean is the word Venusian is stupid. Martian is awesome.
Well,
I still stand by, even if there's scientific reason, we're going to Mars before we try to colonize.
Yeah, I could colonize both, but I think the more successful colony would probably be Venus, not Mars.
Actually, my opinion would be that the first permanent colonies will be space stations that we will use to mine asteroids, and they'll be semi-permanent. So they'll be like,
which those do exist out there.
Like
they just don't come up
300
very
years
often.
from now, there's going to be this whole debate gray area, how we're debating whether or not Pluto is a planet. They're going to be debating whether the first colony was Mars, Venusian, or like asteroid 337 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the International Space Station.
Right. Or they know, well, what about the IIS? And it's just like, yeah, well, they lived on the moon for a week. And it's like, yeah. But anyway.
So back to your question. We have a communications array that can reach them, and we're trying to get a Martian to talk to them. The communications array is an envoy.
Songbird, you're on mute. So your mouth is moving, but nothing's coming out.
Sorry.
Songbird.
Yes.
You're a very practical and organized person.
Okay.
I want you to start motivating individuals here to start doing things. Basically, this sounds silly, but I want you to start giving orders. I am not someone who gives orders. I'm someone who plans.
Okay.
I want you to point to people and say, you do this now. Don't worry, if it's a ridiculous idea, we'll definitely tell you, but I'm sure you'll do fine. No pressure. The fate of the Earth hangs in the balance.
Great. No pressure.
No pressure. This gets back to Lee's thing about not commanding people. The difference between the line between Lee and Void.
The line between Lee and Void.
So
yeah, so I think this might be a good spot to end this one.
Stand there staring at
you mean
him?
like right this second? Like, what do you want to tell people to do?
Someone needs to get in contact with Mars. Tell whoever needs to get in contact with Mars to go do it. Give them the tools to do it.
It's a little after midnight. I think this is something for the group to kind of contemplate, is what exactly are you doing next? Because Gil has gone off to get Billingsley. We'll be back with him relatively soon, along with, I assume, the communications array.
I think at that point, after hearing all that, Philip would probably get frustrated and just look at Songbird. Songbird, go to Dragon, get us a Martian.
Understood.
So okay, so we at least have that in mind, so we know kind of generally where it's headed. But
and can we also say that Philip basically says, go to Dragon, get a Martian. So-and-so, get Billingsley. Oh, Gil's getting Billingsley? Good. Okay, so-and-so, get in contact with Jacksonville. Okay, so-and-so, you do this.
Yep. Lee, get a message to St. Louis. Get somebody here.
Yeah, because Lee will faff about and keep asking questions and will never actually do anything.
Yeah, well, and this is where...
And this is very unlike Philip, but I think he's just gotten frustrated and we don't have time, and so he starts doing it.
So, and this is also where I think to speed up some of these tasks, because one, the group is running out of clock time, but two, to avoid... I don't want to create an anticlimax to the game where... you guys have to go around and collect the 8 crystal shards before the plot can advance. So I have some ideas on how to shorten that.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do a couple of rolls to obfuscate some of that to get people to the table.
Well, and I think also, once again, between Gil and Lee, there's an extra character in play there. You've got some NPCs we can put in play. There are ways we can cut up some of these tasks. Daisy's still not doing particularly much. et cetera, et cetera. So we can find ways to speed that up. As for tonight's game, I thought the role playing was great. I loved. I as a game master, there were several times I really wanted to get an NPC more involved or make something blow up, but it just felt completely wrong. I do think the RP by the end was starting to get a bit long in the tooth, but since we're up against time anyway, rather than blow something up, I just chose to go into the post game. And I realize it's not quite as good as a cliffhanger, but it's much better than, running yourself deep into the ground.
Ed, I love the subtlety of Lee looking to Songbird and just saying, "I lost one." The subtlety of that and the callback.
Yeah.
But so questions, comments, general whatever on this game.
I had a blast.
Yeah, it was really good. It was hard to start since I wasn't there for some of that stuff, so me giving some information was kind of wonky, but yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was really good.
And I think there was a danger with how I played Lee in that I think that people listening to this are going to say, well, Chad was using a lot of meta knowledge. He was using a lot of meta knowledge to find things that he wouldn't know. And I did that on purpose, actually, because the way I envisioned it, Lee is smarter than I am. Lee is smarter than anybody here. His intelligence is at the max natural human scale without augmentation, and as well as his social. That's the point of the character, is that we are trying to break the system with it. We're min-maxing in a way. And I had this vision of basically Lee in this room for a week or whatever, getting these bits of information and then thinking he's putting all the pieces together, and then he gets the final puzzle pieces from Poe a bit and then from Phil, and then it's just boom, he's just putting them all together.
I think you can justify meta knowledge if it makes sense gameplay wise. You can justify meta knowledge, and like you said, your character would have been kind of it. That's his whole thing, is kind of figuring things out. So I think
I like that there were certain things you chose for him not to figure out. That Barnes wasn't Dragon.
Yeah,
I like that you made that choice, that he never even considered that Barnes was a puppet.
Well, and even if you want to be a hard hardliner about this, I think not only would he figure some of it out simply through observation here, but let's also keep in mind that prior to that, he was the master of the overseer's house. They knew quite a bit. They didn't know everything, but they knew quite a bit, and they had regular contact with the zoo. You then went, kind of got involved in that, or tried to lead up that rebellion. They would know some things that could have filled you in, and they've got their own network of spies and scuttlebutt. And they've got the, in Mass Effect 2 they called the unseen. They've got the network of orphans and bums who are everywhere yet never seen. And so they would know some things. And one of the things that you would know that kind of came up this game, and I'm not sure is fully understood, is that St. Louis and Jacksonville have a close relationship.
Yes.
Jacksonville relies on St. Louis for two big things. One, while Jacksonville is militarily and technologically more powerful, in terms of general industrial output and resources, St. Louis is more powerful. So Jacksonville relies on St. Louis for a lot of things in that regard. But the other thing that they rely on St. Louis for, St. Louis serves as something of a satellite state for them, that it creates a certain degree of, it's kind of what the Romans did. They're keeping the roads safe. They're keeping order. They're keeping the wild barbarians vaguely under control. They're, and if somebody ever, and they know this, if someone ever really wanted to come at Jacksonville, they have to get through St. Louis to get there, which also makes St. Louis something of a either buffer state or forward operating base for Jacksonville. which is why, and I think you were even told this explicitly, that this is why Aurora is in all probability setting their landing zone out in Nevada, is because they can't drop closer, because Jacksonville is able to hide too much power inside of St. Louis. And so that expands their, latitudinal, longitudinal reach without having to mess with other land masses. They are pretty powerful throughout the Caribbean, but once again, that's not.
Yeah.
It's be really hard to stage a space landing into the Caribbean anyway.
I think the big one, though, was because I've been actually thinking about this. I've literally been thinking about this for weeks now. Could Lee, with the knowledge he had, figure out that Songbird killed Modamar? And it's like, I think that he... And I'm not...
could guess the probability?
Because what I did is I went with, he was able to figure out that the zoo was behind it. And he had no idea that Songbird actually did.
Let me go else. There's one factoid Lee may not know. So let me give you the factoid Lee does know, which was it was a cell of 3. One was Rat, one was Songbird, and the third was Leopard. Rat's dead. That only leaves Leopard and Songbird. Now, the thing he may not know, because this was revealed in the B campaign, is those trios are regional. And so he may not be aware that the trio, there's no second trio in that territory. So if the zoo killed and it wasn't Leopard that pulled the trigger, then all that leaves is Songbird. But once again, the factoid he's missing, because it was told to the B campaign when they were talking to the Lizard Sisters, was that the trios are regional and the trios are blind to other regions.
And that's what the way I played it is that he didn't know. And in fact, I even said later on, why would Songbird do that with their friends? And he believed that. But then he started to not so much suspect, but he's like, he wanted more information about it. So he went fishing. And that's why when he had them clear the room, he told Songbird, I want you to kill Leopard. And he didn't actually want Leopard. He doesn't care about Leopard. He doesn't care if Leopard lives or dies. He was trying to get Songbird emotional so that he could manipulate her into telling him how Modamar actually died. And he was successful.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see, because there's several interactions that I want you guys to have directly, because I feel they're either too pivotal, for an NPC to decide, or there's just simply going to be a lot of interesting things to explore that I don't want to deny you. And the interaction with Leopard is one of those. If you really insist on sending an NPC or icing a PC to send them, I'm not going to stop you, but I would love for you guys to go and see Leopard directly, because there were some things I was texting back and forth with Brodor during this game that you guys don't know about Leopard.
Sure. Well, I loved that whole scene. I love the scene of the argument between Philip and I think it was Songbird. Basically, and maybe it was Poe. Anyway, there's this argument with Philip, and Lee is just standing there waiting for the room to clear so that he can enact his plan. And I love that Brodor spent the Beethoven to not reveal the secret so that Philip didn't know. And then it's like the 3 psychopaths in the room, the 3 real psychopaths in the room were the ones who were like, okay, it's revealed, and we're all psychopaths, so it's cool, and no one's ever going to talk about this, but it's on the table.
you're the tight-lipped psychopaths. You got one more in the party with Juno. He's a little more loose around the edges.
It's just Tuesday for us.
Yeah, but the only other person that now knows is Emma, because she can hear every damn word, but you've certainly not seen her she doesn't certainly walk around running off at the mouth.
Well, and she's not going to play a political game.
Well, and also on top of that, you're not sure she even cares.
Right.
I mean, she's not profoundly. I mean, you don't get the sense she's profoundly pleased by the loss of human life.
Sure.
But she certainly is a pragmatist in that it happened. It's done.
She's not. She's also not invested in any of these people, so it's not something that I think she would even respond to. Like,
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested because this whole
Not like I
game,
killed Junior yet.
and well, this whole game I have been, and by this whole game I mean certainly throughout the whole B campaign, there's a couple things that were even hinted at in the A campaign of what it is she actually really truly wants.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be curious to see if you guys are able, because Wayne did an amazing job last game piecing together the mega plot involving Dragon. And I'm curious to see if you guys will figure out what her angle is before it's revealed in game.
Yeah.
And there are
Philip has a huge blind spot for Emma.
Yeah.
And Philip is also in self-denial about some things. He would not ever suspect Songbird of it. He would actively try to not realize that.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Emma. He's in for a shock when Emma does something truly horrible.
And I'm not saying it's truly horrible. I'm not saying it's not either. I'm just saying she does have her own end game in mind. And I'm not saying it's truly horrible, like she's going to enslave the human race or something.
No, but she said that there's still something that Junior will have to trust her because it's going to look really bad. Yes. Whatever that is when it happens, that's going to be interesting for Philip because he has this huge blind spot for her.
And you guys have actually made a few guesses in the ballpark of what that is, but I won't tell you what they were. But you made a few speculations that have hit the right ballpark of what that is. But
it is actually hard for me not to let some of my own personal paranoias fall into Philip because he's not paranoid. Well, he's intentionally, he is not only is he naive, he's turning into Joe.
Well, and Philip,
his own survivor's guilt about Joe has been slowly making him try to become Joe.
Well, and I'm happy to give you this bit of metagame knowledge, which is that what you said about Emma about you're not treating her like a person, you're not talking to her directly, et cetera, you just won huge points in her book. I mean, I know she doesn't really talk about that kind of stuff real openly, but when you say, talk to her directly, you're not treating her like a person, you won enormous brownie points in her mind.
And you know what? I know that this was a very, and we kind of knew it going in, this was going to be a very Lee-centric episode because Lee is getting reintroduced and, you're going to him for things and then Lee's got his own shit. And I was really trying to pull different people in. And again, like that, like him and Philip had a lot of great interactions. The three-way sort of reveal in the bedroom about Songbird killed Modamar. Brandon Poe is like, yeah, your killer's cool. I'm not going to talk about it. It's just like that was a big reveal on his character, so to speak, like the depths of sort of his thing, and that with Lee, like Lee understands that he doesn't actually have a split personality, that he's actually in control, which actually makes him a little bit worse.
It's another point of self-denial for Philip. When he went in and grabbed the bag and gave it back, he is forcing himself to believe Void is a different personality, and all of the evil and bad that's inside of Lee is Void and not Lee.
Right, but they're two separate.
Philip needs to believe that, and so when you came out without the bag and he saw the look on the face, it's like, okay, that's Void. I get the bag, I give it to him. That's right. Lee.
It is Lee forgetting a piece of the persona, the act. But what and like I said, I know this is a very Lee-centric episode. I was trying to bring everyone in. I could not figure out how to bring Eric in. I couldn't figure out this bugged the shit out of me. I could not bring Junior in.
I don't feel too bad about that, and here's why. Because Eric was at least, his character was there. If his character was sidelined and he had no ability to enter the RP, I'd be like, wow, Eric, we dicked you this
Or
I
every time
said
Junior tried to speak up, we're like, no, the adults are talking about important
But
shit.
no, yeah, Junior was there. He was never cut off. He was never robbed of the opportunity to speak. This may not have been a Junior / Eric centric game, but I mean, as we've talked about on the main show, on the Fear the Boot show, that in a long game, you oftentimes have to move the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had, God knows, Junior centric games.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which were
so,
great.
yeah,
Great
which is fine. That's not a complaint. That's totally fine. So I didn't have a problem with this being a Lee centric and Philip centric game, so long as the other characters were there and not, it's like, yeah, you're on the other side of town and don't get to do anything, but look at us.
Yeah, if anyone here is ever feeling left out or they want to get into it, interject. Please interject. I will be happy to step. I know, and we've done whole episodes about this, about how, I know I'm a loud, forceful, sort of alpha player.
Well, Eric was sending me some messages, and I'm not going to reveal them unless he wants me to.
Oh, was there real game stuff going on?
There was some real game. No,
nice.
But I think Junior was trying to make a move, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to reveal any of it unless Eric says.
Eric,
mostly it was. And I looked at it the way that this kind of worked out was it reminded me a lot of the Motomar final episode. Because there was a lot of it was a lot of Lee and everything, so I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go. There was one point there where I was half expecting Emma just to go and crack his neck and be over with it, but no, I mean it's fine. I don't mind taking a back seat and watching everybody else do their thing. It's not a big deal. And it's one of those things where I was whispering in Emma's ear a couple of things, just to kind of hear, having a back and forth, but it wasn't necessarily it wasn't something I wanted to talk about out in the open because it really didn't have a whole lot. It did guide the little bit that I did RP, mostly, and I think to me right now, Junior's kind of in a transition stage. So he's still trying to figure out kind of like his place at this point, because for the longest time he was front and center, but now it's like he's not, and it's okay. It's just
he's going to be the leader of the new cult of Emma.
Well, I'm the rock on which the Church of Emma is built, right?
Right.
Do you guys have good thetans and bad thetans? Because I need some of them good thetans.
They're all bad.
Yeah, it's a 2-fist thetan injection.
So I have two questions for the session. The first one is for Chad. Mm-hmm. That conversation where Lee is blaming himself for everyone's death, and Philip goes down the line of them. How close was I on what some of his thoughts?
Well, remember that Songbird asked him, have you ever lost an argument? And Lee is an egotist. I mean, he knows he's smart. I don't want to say he's never lost an argument, but the answer was no, I've never lost an argument.
Yeah, that's how I took it. Is like, there is no way that is.
No, that's
everybody.
Not true.
Like
he's an egotist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of the quickest checks for someone to line is you just. There was a personality inventory I took to help one of our friends get through his LPC, licensed practitioner counselor. So he was trying to become a therapist. In order to certify for that, he had to issue a certain number of personality inventories to just random people, and I agreed to be one of his guinea pigs. And one of the axes it measures is honesty, and I scored a perfect score on it. But one of the questions they use to check for dishonesty is the question, have you ever told a lie? Mm-hmm. And if you say, no, I've never told a lie, then it's a pretty clear indicator you're a liar.
But my question, though, was did he lose the argument of convincing me, or did he realize that I was
No,
right?
you convinced... I don't want to... Okay, so Philip was right. Philip was 100% right. The thing about guilt and self-punishment is that right and the truth doesn't matter.
Right.
It's about the guilt. And that's what, and actually that's kind of in a way.
I love that both characters are sharing the guilt for Joe. Joe made a choice. Neither one of us are willing to accept that Joe made a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's where the actual truth lies. You know, Lee has this thing about death and has a thing about people dying at his command, like making the hard choice to people die. And I kind of view that's how life is cheap in St. Louis, and the masks are leaders. And that's one of the ways they break and brainwash them. It's like the old thing of like you have a military that has you train a dog and then has you kill the dog for loyalty. You show that you're willing to do this thing, and once you do that, you're broken. You're willing to do anything. And obviously there was no dog or anything like that in St. Louis, but
no, it was people.
It's people. Yeah, you know, it's like, and it wasn't really that direct, but it's like, okay, the masks are leaders, and they have you make a decision that negatively impacts people and is life and death. Like, okay, we only have 100 units of food, but you need 125 units to feed people. Who gets the food? You decide, and you can't break it up, you know, sort of thing.
So my other question's for Dan, and I don't know if you're willing to tell us the answer about what happened with Casey.
No.
I want that to be an RP moment. I was kind of surprised you guys
do think
never
that's still
chased that. Yeah, I was surprised you guys didn't.
I did ask where Casey was.
Yeah,
and Philip will never bring it up again because, as far as he's concerned, he's got his answer. Casey fought for him and died.
And when Lee was like fading in and out after he had lost too much blood, you know, he was mixing up Joe and Casey. You know, Philip was like, his three best friends were Philip, Joe, and Casey, and like Modamar. But Modamar was, in his mind, Modamar was dead. But like Philip was right there, and it's just like he had a lot of guilt about Joe, and he was like kind of blending Joe and Casey together in his sort of malaise. I
will give you one GM tidbit.
No, don't tell me anything about Casey.
No, it's just going to be a pointer. It's not information. It's just a pointer. If you want to see Casey, talk to Dragon. That's all I'm going to say. Is if you want to see Casey, whatever is going on, you need the best person to ask is going to be Dragon.
So, one of the things that was actually on my mind, and I don't think this came out, was that when the real talk started, like with Songbird, Poe, and the real Lee, where it's just like, okay, everything's on the table here. We all understand that we are all three actually not good people. And the real talk started. One of the things that Lee did not do that I was thinking, like, should I have him do this? He could have had Songbird investigate what happened to Casey, and he didn't. And I thought that was very telling, but it didn't like come out.
Oh, does he actually not know the answer?
Lee does not know the answer to where is Casey and what his situation is.
Ah, okay. I assumed he did. So
yeah, and Lee asked a couple of times like where Casey was, but it's like when he was bleeding out and stuff.
Yeah, I assumed it was your mind kind of just going off.
Well, and remember too, people are not generically good or generically evil or generically don't care or generically do care. It's not a binary thing. People, especially people with mental illness, like Lee. I mean, I love Lee. Lee needs a hug. Lee is so broken. And that's why I love him. But it's
that's all messed up fucking crying.
It's like, the question is, does Lee care about Casey? And the answer is yes, but it is also no. and it's not a Lee Void thing. It's complicated.
I think your character has a lucid brain and a kind of a conniving brain.
Yeah.
The lucid brain cares, but the other one's just like, it's just another pawn.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I look at Lee as he's too smart for his own good. He is a good person. He wants, this is in the A game, he wants the best, he wants the most possible good for the most amount of people. But let's look at that logically. What does that mean? Well, it's the talk in the bedroom. Like, there are people who are going to come in the way of our plan. Philip can never know this. Songbird, you need to kill them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
right. But Songbird doesn't know who that is. Songbird never known who that is.
Right.
Only ever known. She's like a missile, just fire and forget. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when she starts questioning, am I doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing? It fucks everything up.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dichotomy in the way Philip thinks about Songbird versus Lee, because Songbird, he was, Songbird he saw had become a good friend, but she went back to them. He doesn't have the mask to give as a internal excuse.
Oh, sure.
He's giving Lee passes Lee doesn't deserve.
You're right. Yeah.
He's putting it on the mask. He doesn't have that for Songbird. If he had something he could point to, he would probably go into self-denial about Songbird too.
Yeah. Lee does not have a split personality. He does not have two distinct insane psyches within him. There's only one, and it is a defense mechanism. But it's like you said, Brandon, it's like this sort of lucid brain and this sort of logical brain. But they're the same brain. They're the same. And even Dan pointed out, Dan had Casey talking about it way, way, way back when. And Casey even was like, no, there's not two of them. I forget exactly what you said. You said it really well, too, how he presented it. It's very in character, is very well done. But he was like, no, there's not two of them.
The interesting thing is, near the end of the A campaign, Philip would have he wouldn't have as many of these defense mechanisms. He is really struggling with that survivor's guilt over Joe, and he thinks the world needs a new Joe, and he's not Joe, but he's becoming more Joe. He was a lot more practical in the A game than some of these things. He's shifting.
If Joe had not died, this would be a totally different game. The entire course of the game changed when that crazy dude pulled the trigger of the shotgun and blew Joe in half. The whole game changed because Joe was the compass that his friends were the champion of trying to protect him, but also his friends were not just the champions trying to protect him, they were trying to mold him and direct him in a way that was part of their agenda, which wasn't good. But
and Philip was a lot more practical and manipulating back then, but he's not Joe. He has what he thinks Joe was.
Yeah.
And he's slowly trying to become that ideal. And he doesn't realize it himself.
Yeah,
right.
But that's been something I've been doing over time is he has been getting more and more that good that he saw Joe as being. And I've been slipping more and more in. He wasn't he was all on board with dropping all of the tungsten rods on the Southern Army.
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't be if that were to happen today.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully we will be back with the next episode in another 2 weeks.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Later on.